Hello everyone and welcome back to the F1 Creator Series sponsored by EA Sports, and we are well into this Season 7 campaign now. Round 8 is today's number and we are at the Spa-Francorchamps venue for what will be the 5th time in Creator Series history. Wow, we've been here 5 times, that's amazing. I am Gareth Allen, and for the first time in the F1 commentary box, I'm delighted to be joined alongside by John Isaac Music Harris. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure to be here. It's so entertaining to have watched the previous races and, long fan of the series. So to be sat here in the commentary box is a bit surreal, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a surreal experience, a fun experience, and we have plenty of broadcast to get for, of course, full qualifying coming up in just a few moments' time. But I tell you what, there's someone else I want to introduce the broadcast to, and that is Ben Sapitron, who, as he is previously known, is back on the F1 Creator Series for the first time in ages. When were you last here, Ben?
I think it's about a season and a half, I want to say. Far too long, in my opinion. But it's good to be back in the chair. I'm really thankful to be back on the broadcast, and I'm looking forward to see what we have at Spa tonight.
Absolutely, and he is, of course, running the clip book today. So if you want to get those clips viewed on screen, then please go into chat, !Discord, anything from our creators, even from our stream, send it in, get to the Stream Clips channel, get them in. That will help Ben out massively with his job, and yeah, he'll be keeping us informed with all the bits that we may miss during the broadcast, so that's fantastic. But what we will quickly go over to now is the standings as of round 7, and it is the Spanish, the king, El Rey Giri, who is at the top of the standings at the moment. 145 points to his name. He's had 2 wins this season so far. He's been in terrific form, one would say. F1 24 really seeming to be a good platform for him to build on. Timothy Marduk not racing tonight. He's in second place in the championship, so he will be losing ground if El Rey Giri can finish, or maybe Alex Gillen in third place can get ahead. That old rivalry can spark. And Tom 97, 88 points down in fourth place, and of course he could have scored big last week at Hungary, but just seemed to bottle it. And it's really an interesting championship complexion, isn't it, John?
Yeah, I think one word to summarize it is consistency. El Rey has managed to bring home points nearly every single race, big points, and the other drivers have struggled with some contact, some incidents, some of which have been controversial for obvious reasons. And yeah, it was an exciting race last time out, with a lot of people making mistakes. Obviously, the weather having a huge effect with that as well. But a dramatic finish for Alex Gillen and Tom 97, with both of them making mistakes. Tom, obviously, as you said, having the worst end of the stick on that one. But for sure, there's an opportunity still to catch El Rey, but he's being so consistent, and it's making a difference at the moment in terms of points.
Yeah, and you mentioned weather there. Of course, we're at Spa-Francorchamps, where the rain always seems to stick close to the forests of the Ardennes. So that could come into it. But so many of our races and our qualifying sessions have been affected by rain this season. That is super challenging on this F1 24 platform. So that's made it really tricky for the likes of it. And I think that rain period in the previous race really caught a lot of drivers out. I believe Emphatic dabbled on the wets again. And I can tell you those wets are not good to drive on. If you want any proof of that, check out the last 2 times Emphatic has switched over to those wet tyres. He has lost heaps of time. He's way down the order, in fact in 12th position. So for that Ferrari team, he'll be hoping for a little pickup of form. Actually, he was saying to me yesterday that he thinks he can get a top 5 here. I don't believe it, to be honest, but we'll certainly see what he can do. But that rain racing, that rain wet weather challenge in this game, how is it going to affect today? We're probably going to see a little bit, aren't we?
We probably are. It's Spa-Francorchamps, Belgium. The weather there currently at the moment is quite horrendous, so I'd expect to see some rain. It's always a challenge to race in the rain. You've got differences in terms of driving line, the driving style. You have to be a bit more smooth, especially on the brakes and acceleration. So there's a lot of changeability, and some drivers have either training or practice to be able to adapt to it. Other drivers are just naturally gifted at it. I'm thinking of real life drivers like Jenson Button, always able to get that extra 5 or 10 seconds when it's a changeover conditions. I'll always remember Australia 2010, where he gains 20 seconds on everybody, switching over to the dry tyres, and just it takes a special adaptability to be able to do that, and that's where you really see those who have the confidence, and unfortunately for some drivers, those who haven't quite got it right.
Absolutely, and we are now over halfway through this season. Last week was the halfway point, round 7. Being halfway through, that was the halfway point, of course, but we're at Belgium today. We have a few more tracks coming up over the next few weeks. No real life racing on, at least not in the F1 series, but in the Creator Series we will be here of Australia, Las Vegas, the Mystery Grand Prix, which includes a sprint, so we don't even know where we'll be doing those extra laps around. The Netherlands around the historic Zandvoort circuit, and another historic circuit to round out the Canada Monza. And some of those tracks coming up maybe aren't famed for having wet weather races, so that will maybe give a little bit of a reprieve to some of our drivers from the wet weather action. But we'll see how it goes. I think it was Tom97 last week who was particularly impressive in those wet weather conditions.
He certainly had the pace, and it was only just a tiny little mistake that ended up costing him a potential win, it must be said. So maybe if it's raining this time as well at Belgium, he'll be on the redemption arc, but there's quite a few drivers in this series that have the pace to win, but when you're talking about such small margins, it can just come down to that little lock-up, that little bit of lost traction, or just racecraft when you're battling with someone else. But notorious for the DRS zones and the late braking into the bus stop chicane. There's always some late dives and late moves, so it's going to be an entertaining one, and for sure, some unexpected stuff will happen.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw it over to Ben quickly, because he hasn't been with us since the F1 23 race. Who has really been impressive to you in the opening rounds of this F1 24 game? Who do you think has really picked up the game the best?
I mean, last time I was in this box, it was a completely different ball game, completely different set of rules in a way. One driver that has impressed me though is El Reguiri. Last I saw him, it was back when it was called Alfa Romeo. And what we saw with El Reguiri back then, a couple of seasons ago, was those sparks of brilliance in between some really sort of shaky rounds where they couldn't quite find their footing, they couldn't quite get the momentum. Now, we get into Season 7, we see El Reguiri at the top, consistently high results, they found that footing, and as you guys have pointed out, every single race they have brought in some points. And that has totted up to a massive total, a massive lead. And relative to some of the other drivers on the field, we are talking quite a margin. At this stage of the game, it's looking like a very strong showing, and that's probably the driver that I've been most impressed by.
Yeah, no, absolutely one to go for, and he's really boosted the championship hopes of the Aston Martin team, of course. GB68, 86, 69, whatever you want to call him, is driving alongside El Reguiri, and they have made a formidable pairing. 225 points they have in the Constructors, and they leave their closest rival, who is in second place, by just over 70 points. I think it is actually 70 points. So that's an incredible gap between the two, and that's Alex Gillen and Matty D13. Alex Gillen, of course, bringing in a lot of those points. Matty D13, I think he's DNF'd in the last 3 races. But that Constructors battle, maybe not that close at the moment, but it just takes a few shaky rounds from that second driver even to have that come and the closeness to be right back there again.
Yeah, it's the conundrum that Red Bull have in real life, isn't it? When your second driver isn't performing for any reason. It just means that the Constructors' Championship is really, really difficult for Aston Martin here. It's plain sailing at the moment. All they have to do now is basically just get some points on the table and sail home. But we've seen a little bit of consistency now from some of the other drivers. El Rey's, although he's gaining points in, it's not always race wins, so there is the potential as well for other drivers to just either stop making the mistakes or little bits of contact as well that happen and bump El Rey down to maybe 4th, 5th place, and then a championship when there's a lot of rounds remaining. It can change the whole landscape of the championship. Still, there's enough rounds, enough points left on the table. It's never over. Put it that way.
Yep, absolutely. Everyone in chat, hello. Thanks for joining along. Jamie Perry, TK, yeah, I'm very aware of you guys, but also Juju Boy Zoxy. Nice to have you here for the first times. And of course, Sapitron, get involved in the chat as well. Remember, !Discord once we're going. get those stream clips in. Really helps out, brings our broadcast to life, and you can be part of the broadcast by helping us out on that side. But I tell you what, there's one person not racing today. I've already mentioned him, Tia McMardock, not racing. He was in second place in the championship. Now, the person who is replacing him for today is Arsenault, but his teammate is also not racing, Guats. He's being replaced by a certain Punju, WRC Creator Series champion. Of course, Isamusing and me and TK indeed are big parts of the WRC scene and side. If you've fought Punju for that title, of course, very different to rallying. But when in those wet weather conditions, is there a little bit of crossover? Is there something you can learn from rallying to enhance your wet weather driving?
Well,
you could say no.
There are certain things that cross over, and notably in traction. Traction is one of the things that's very consistent. If you're driving a rear-wheel drive car in the rally WRC rally game, they have quite a bit of power, so there's a lot of snappy feeling to the car. You have to really judge the traction zones. Apart from that, you're talking about a different ball game. It's an F1 car here. You've got a lot of downforce. You've got a lot of grip with the tires as well. Even in wet conditions, there's still a ton more grip than the rally car. So all of the techniques are a real sort of mix-up. In rally, you can't do much trail braking. In Formula 1, even in the wet, you have to. In fact, it's even more important in the wet. You have to trail brake and get everything perfect. So it can cross over, especially in the changing sort of intermediate conditions. Rallying teaches you to adapt to changing grip levels and maybe momentary losses of grip. So it can help people like Punju or anybody else that plays the rally game. Can give you that additional set of skills that can help you out in those moments that you need them. But in terms of raw pace, practice, and familiarity with the game will always triumph, sadly.
Yeah, well, we are moments away from qualifying here, and we're going to have a quick view of what the weather is going to be like. I expect at least some level of rain in the qualifying and in DD if we go over and give everyone a quick look at the pit lane conditions at the start of this Q1. It is indeed wet. Now, how does that affect the Intermediates Championship that we run, the Intermediates extra point you can gain from qualifying? Now, it remains the same. As long as you can set that fastest time on the intermediate tyre before 12 minutes hits the clock, and it has to be before, you can't be on a lap and complete that lap, then you will get an extra point here. And every single point matters. We do see a number of our drivers going for that even if it's dry conditions, and it may put them a little bit offline and slower and off of their pace. But we will see, I think all our cars go out on inters. We have seen that wet tyre struggle for grip in some earlier rounds here. So I think that intermediate tyres is going to be preferable.
Yes, and a little bit of additional information that I'm seeing here is that the rain is going to decrease in intensity. So we might actually see drivers waiting a tiny bit until going out onto those set of intermediate tyres to try and get that extra point. I think I just saw someone, yes, Curbs leaving the pit lane. So we have two drivers on track now with Tom out on track, but not everybody out straight away. So some drivers believing that the grip is going to get better. That 1 point can mean the difference in championship standings, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So Curbs will be the first car to go up the false flats of the Kemmel Straight towards Les Combes and just work his way through what will be just a very tricky set of parallels you're dealing with here, and parameters. You've got to just gauge the track and gauge the grip out on the circuit. This is another corner, very tricky on braking downhill into Rivage or Bruxelles, as it's now known. Of course, the next corner, 4 names for it. We've got Speakers, you've got Ix, you've got Liège, and you can even call it No Name, although I think it's pretty stupid to call a corner No Name when it's actually got 3 different names. But there we are, Pouon now, and yes, he's just looking for that bit of grip, and I think that corner there is going to be very, very difficult in these wet conditions. The double left-hander, downward double left-hander for Pouon.
I'm trying to think of any corner that's not difficult at this track. They're so high speed, especially in the rain. If you get a snap of oversteer or even understeer, you're off into the gravel traps. And so it's really a balance now of how much you're willing to risk it at the start. Many drivers will be out on track just trying to gauge and get an eye in for the grip conditions and see if their setup is also working well in these conditions. It's a real challenging thing to have wet qualifying. You at least want one dry lap to get you started, but in changeable conditions you don't really have the choice, and so especially for that initial point, it's going to be down to who can go out of the starting blocks absolutely flat out and nail it. But there will be some drivers, obviously, that say, well, do I take the risk really in these conditions? It's only 1 point. So it's going to be interesting to see who pushes and who is going to back out of it. Curb starting his lap right now. Let's see. Is it going to be flat through Eau Rouge? Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be flat. Surely there's going to be a bit of a lift. Oh, just a little bit. There's a big wiggle going up the top part of it. Of course, Radion there, and now down the Kemmel Straight. He'll look to that sector, that first sector. He'll get purple, of course. He's the first person going for it in anger, but lost a big bit of time there. That wiggle will cost him all the way up the hill there.
Yeah, it's cost him about 1.5 tenths of a second. 1.5 seconds would be a lot to Tom. And it's, yeah, definitely when you're trying to gain speed all down the Kemmel Straight, if you make a tiny little correction through Radion, it's going to cost you all the way up there. But so far, it looks actually quite controlled from the Williams driver, and it looks like Tom actually is catching quite fast here. So let's look at the sector times. Quite a few sector times going up on the board within reason, all about the same, although we've got some 33.3s, which is 5 tenths faster from GB68. So a lot of drivers absolutely pushing the limits right from the get-go.
Yep, people improving, people finding time, but the times will come down and down and down because we are expecting rain to ease at least through this session. Will we see dry tyres right at the end? I'm not sure. But remember, when the clock strikes 12, that will be the point where we take the intermediate fast laps. Everyone out there on intermediate, so everyone who is at the top of the timing screen, whoever it may be, will get that interval lap. I think Curbs have been validated out there, so he's not going to be setting a lap here, but has he just fueled the car to run a few laps back to back? The next car going through looks like a Williams to me. Maybe it's not Williams, maybe it's an Alpine who's just going to go over the line there. It is Tom in the Alpine who's set a 1:56, quickest through the final sector, so just beating out Curbs. But down, this is Lononoba going over. We haven't spoken about Lononoba yet, of course, promoted from F2 last week. And he has his first drive out in the Creator Series.
Yes, it's a big step up in terms of competition. However, he's impressed so much in F2. I think he'll be out of the starting blocks, just hit the ground running. We'll have to wait and see. Very, very controlled through the Radion and, Eau Rouge and Radion complex there. As we switch to Razinchi, looking to have some better results. I must admit, it's been a couple of disappointing results for Ferrari in general, so maybe some wet conditions can reignite their championship hopes. Who knows? They'll be looking to get that extra point, although it looks like they are running out of time at the moment. Some people might not get their time on the board. There's about 5 seconds to go right now. It's going to be so close. And Alex Gillen just puts in a lap time. It might be Alex Gillen who takes that point, and it is.
It is Alex Gillen
takes the point.
Yeah, but you didn't see it on your screen. We have the timing tower on our telemetry. It's usually in the top left-hand corner, but it is Alex Gillen who gets the point. Razin Shai missing out there, and that's maybe characteristic of a sloppy season he's having. He's missed a few races from DNF, from not racing, a few DNSs indeed, but he's the season 5 champion. He's just not been able to get his eye in on this platform and being able to fight at the top, and it's little mistakes like that that cost you a point here or there. He didn't go faster anyway, but if he did, it would have mattered.
Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. It's literally just a couple of seconds too late in the timing for starting the lap, so that can mean all of the difference, and it's very difficult to know when exiting the pits exactly where you are, as Tom puts in a fastest lap by 4 tenths. That's a benchmark. As we've got team radio, just enough for Alex Gillen, happy with that one. A good start to the weekend, using that momentum that he's got from Hungary to good effect, and we'll have to wait and see whether that carries on with Perja going a tiny bit faster, 4 hundredths of a second faster. The gaps are a lot closer than I thought they would be in these wet conditions, so it's going to be interesting to see whether the conditions improve. Looking visibly on screen, it's looking like the rain is diminishing, that's for sure, and some drivers coming into the pits already. Will we see dry tyres? Probably not, but who knows? I
think there was a little collision between Sasso and the Alpine, between GB68 in the pit lane entry there, so that's given, I believe, Sasso a 5-second 5 grid place penalty, so not good for him. Meraki's gone to the top of the timing screens, the Season 4 champion, who of course won his championship at this track back in Season 4. The last time we raced here, so he's got some very good memories of it. GB68 on the radio here saying, I may have just got a grid penalty. So it may be him as well involved with that. Neguera as well getting involved with someone out there. It's Emphatic, and Emphatic out of this one. Neguera has maybe had a collision with Emphatic around the double left-hander of Blanchimont, a very fast part of the circuit. And I tell you what, we'll have to get a replay of that from our clipbook side, because it is very interesting to know what's happened there.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting one. It's not a blind corner because they were in the first part of Blanchimont. And was it a case of just a driver moving off of the racing line to allow someone by and just having a collision there? It's very difficult to gauge what a driver is going to do at the last second if they're not on a flying lap. And it looks like they're just probably trying to recover their spirits a little bit after that one. Sometimes after a collision, it can be very nerve-wracking experience. So perhaps maybe even some sort of wheel or technical issue there, as they are going very, very slowly in that last part of the lap as they're warming the tyres.
Having a bit of fun with the physics, I think that what you could call that. That guy Vincent Meraki currently at the top of the timing screens, but just taking it slow, whether they're on an in-lap or an out-lap. We'll see shortly. Not many people out there on track at the moment. I believe there's a Haas going through Sector 1, who we'll jump over to shortly. But I think that may be Matty D13. Indeed it is. He is improving on his time. He's on inters, but look at the weather conditions. We've had a few people go out on softs, indeed in the pits at least, change over to the soft compound. And to me, that looks like a dry track now.
Well, a lot of drivers look like they're choosing the dry tyres, so these might be the last laps on intermediates, and we definitely have enough time in the session. 8 minutes to go, so there's so much more time for the track to dry out, and it's looking like if you're out there on intermediates, you might just want to box to save the tyres a little bit. You might need them later, who knows. But definitely, if you're already out on a lap, why not cross the finish line maybe? It's in these changeable conditions, you have no idea what to do. You just drive on instinct from personal experience. So it'll be interesting to see. And obviously, if the track is changeable conditions, maybe those interpretive tire warming shenanigans, let's call them, might come into effect.
Yeah, maybe. I'm interested to know what he could do. If he goes over, he's got time to get back to the pit lane. He is going to improve it. Of course, looking like 2 seconds of improvement, maybe this could put him way up into pole, maybe. And it does not pole, sorry. First place, at least in this session. Now, it'll give him a bit of breathing room. If many people make mistakes further down the order with those soft lap runs, it'll give him a bit of breathing room. But I expect that time to be well and truly slashed, because that is more reminiscent of a Q1 Inters run that we usually see in these dry conditions.
Yeah, nearly lost it through Eau Rouge there. The rear end sliding, maybe those tyres are overheating already. That was close and not even on a flying lap. I think it's a vote of confidence, really. If you can go across the line and set the fastest intermediate time, no matter what the conditions, it puts you just in a good mindset to really attack on those dry tyres. And that's what you need in qualifying. You need that 1 lap pace. It doesn't matter the consistency over multiple laps. You just need to absolutely nail it. And in conditions here where we're basically only going to get 1 lap of dry running potentially, you need to be on it from turn 1. You need to have that confidence on the brakes, on the turn in, to make sure that you don't have any snaps of oversteer or anything of the sorts. And that is potentially why these drivers are still out on track on the intermediate tyres.
Yeah, indeed. And quite interestingly there, actually, Peya, he's set his time on a very, very dry track, but it was slower through that first sector. As we see DRS enabled, so it's definitely a dry track. We are staying dry, maybe some light rain towards the end of the race. Curbs on team radio here saying, this game is, I don't know, man. I don't know, it's F1 24. You've been playing it for a little while. That's what it is, Curbs. But Peya, yeah, it's a little bit slower through that first sector. And that first sector is all geared towards your top line speed. How much downforce have you scrubbed off the car? Now, downforce will help you massively through certainly that second sector and a little bit of that third sector. But yeah, it's all to do with that overtaking period up the Kemmel State. And Meraki has gone for low downforce here, so that could help him in the race.
Most definitely. Overtaking down the straights is, well, with DRS it's a bit easier than it used to be honest, but The main thing is you can hold up people in Sector 2 and then use your superior straight line speed in Sector 1 and Sector 3 to force people to use the battery. That's another thing, is that if you have lower downforce, you don't have to drain your battery all the time to keep up with the cars in front. With a higher downforce, sometimes you're just forced to be on the battery all the time, and then when it comes to attack someone, or you need to gain a position, or set a fastest lap going into the pits so that you have a bit of breathing room, you suddenly don't have that option available to you. So it's a very strategic decision, really, at this track. As we see our first drivers out on the dry tires now, this is where it all begins. And I think sometimes going back to the intermediates and setting a slower sector time, it could be just, again, having a snap through Eau Rouge or Radion, and that can just drain your speed down the entire straight. And that's another thing with the lower downforce, is that you can gain that speed back up a little bit faster and sort of negates that error that you made. But it's all guessing games. We're not on board with the drivers all the time. We can only go via the sector times. So it's, driver's best guess, as they say.
Absolutely. Now, Emphatic is out of the session. He had a bit of a collision with Nogueira, I believe, early on in the session. It's going to be Sapitron who's going to take us through this one. Ben, what happened with this incident?
All right, so first off, set the scene. We're coming into the third sector now, and you can see Emphatic got a fairly clear run until about this point. You've got Nogueira in the Mercedes, and you can see he's trying to stick to one side, trying to make sure he's out of Emphatic's way as he goes on the lap. Curiously, I'm not sure whether Nogueira goes into the racing line, but either way, Emphatic has a bit of a twitch movement as Nogueira does the same thing, maybe suddenly realizing, okay, you got a car coming behind me. Both of them make serious contact. Nogueira comes out okay, manages to continue, but there you go. That's Emphatic out of the session here in Q1.
Yeah, the battle of the Portuguese, and it's Emphatic who comes into it. Maybe just steaming into that one a little bit too quickly, but he, of course, was maybe on the lap there, so it would have been fair to him. Thank you for keeping us involved there, Ben. We do have our first slick run out there. Adam Sanderson, he has gone fastest of all. A lot of our drivers indeed watching that. That's what Ben has told us in the background here. So they were watching that lap before they went out to see what he could do. Now, Tom97, he didn't bother with an intermediate lap. He didn't even want to go for that intermediate championship point. But he's now attacking, and he doesn't want to go too far out on that curb out of Malmedy, because you can easily beach the car. Tom97, through the first sector, it was indeed fastest of all. Through the second sector, we'll have to see what he does. He has a few more corners to go. The downward left-hander, Pouon, coming up, and he's got a Mercedes just in front of him. That guy Vince on the radio saying he's going to play it safe. So interesting there that he's gone for a play it safe strategy. He hasn't really performed that well so far, so maybe risking it too much. I think just a little bit too far out on the curb again there through the exit of Pith Path, and now through Stavalo. You want to avoid this curb as much as possible again, because you can easily beach it, and now it's really just flat out that braking point at the old bus stop chicane that really matters for his lap.
Yeah, it's a really difficult last turn because you have all the anticipation, the build-up to this braking zone. You have 20 seconds to think about it and just gets it slightly wrong into there. Nearly the car snapping around 180 degrees, but is it going to be fastest? It should be. There it is by 3 seconds entirely. That is an amazing lap, but will it be beaten? We are getting some fastest sectors from Yorpa. So it looks like the times are tumbling. The rubber is going down on the surface of the track now, and it's going to get faster from here on out.
Yeah, Kerb's saying he's got some traffic management issues out there. Doesn't know who's on the lap or not. Just got to get out of the way of everyone in that case. Yorpa coming towards the end of this one. Oh, locked the brakes. Maybe just hitting a little bit of the leftover rain there. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, but not too much. He goes to the top by a whopping time. He finds nearly a second and a half on Tom97. That's proof of how things are improving. Now it's Lolanoba. We've had a lot of love for Lolanoba in chat. Some would say too much, but others are fine with it. But the Italian now on his first outing in F1 in that Sauber, looking to put a little bit of a statement in and really get himself away from those drop zones. He's fastest through the middle sector, splits the timing beam, and he is fastest overall as things stand at the moment, but time's coming down all the time. And at the moment in the drop zone, it's Safso, Curbs, El Rey Giri and Emmy Gaming who are in danger here, and Elway Giri gets himself out of danger as we speak. Arsenault's in the drop zone, and Nugira, I should say, is indeed in a little bit of a problem position here because this is his lap. He has to perform here because he's right on the bubble, and you'd expect one of the cars at least to improve on that time. All of the cars ready to improve on time, except Safso, who's remaining in the pit, so he's not come out and improved on that intermediate time for some.
Yeah, just going back to Nogueira, I think there's been some sort of, well, maybe nervousness or something, because that's nearly the second incident that we've seen when just going through Blanchimont. Lolinoba nearly went straight into the back, just on the side of our camera, into Nogueira. So possibly some misunderstanding about where to put the car when you're not on a lap or something like that, but it was nearly disaster for Lolinoba. What a statement to make, though, going P1 in your first qualifying session for F1 Creator Series for the moment. Well, I said not a moment too soon as Meraki crosses the line. I'm used to jinxing people, not on Formula 1 yet. That starts now. Razin Chai really putting a good lap in as well. That'll be reassuring. But for every driver, as Alex Ginnan said, there's one lap, one chance, and you've just got to make it stick. Make sure to not invalidate, because there will be drivers invalidating their lap times probably as we wait for other people to cross the line. Alex Ginnan in third place at the moment, and it looks like Yorpa's happy with that lap. Looks like he didn't go around for a second lap. Be interesting to see whether some drivers fueled for 2 laps and are willing to put a second time down on the board. And it looks like Tom's in the drop zone, and GB68 actually, I did not notice. Well, as I say that, Tom has set the lap time 6th place, and let's watch GB68 across the line. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it is, and that means that we have our first knockouts of this session.
Yeah, consequently, Tom97, a big name, someone top 4 in the championship. He has had a bit of a shocker. He went too early, and the times came down and down and down, and now he's starting down in 18th position. Safso in 19th. 20th is emphatic. Matty D13 just not getting through. He's in 16th. Curbs in 17th, and Punju on his third start, for the, I think it's 4th start, for the season. He's in 15th, so he's getting through to Q2, so he lives to fight another day. Both McLaren's through, in fact. But yeah, it's Tom97 who's a shocker, and Tom, GB68, Razin Shai, they were all floating around the bottom there, but they just pulled themselves out, and Lolinoba knocked down a few pegs there. He's 5 tenths behind the fastest time, so while he did lead early doors, he did get a good lap time in. He didn't show that he was the absolute fastest in that session.
Yes, it must be said for Tom, that's quite a disastrous qualifying, leaving it late, not even going out on the intermediate tyres. Did that play a little bit in terms of confidence on the track? Only the drivers can answer that question, really. But the gaps are very, very large. I mean, Punju on a 43.5, and then Matty D13 on a 43.9, so that's 4 tenths of a second already. So indicating that the drivers in the drop zone probably made some serious mistakes on their lap. And the thing is about that now is that it gets even more difficult when you go into Q2, and so the drivers are going to have to be even more precise than they have been in the first qualifying session.
Yeah, we are expecting dry conditions in the next session. Certainly, maybe some rain comes into play at the end of it. But yes, those are the people dropped out. Matty D13, Curbs, Tom97, Safso, and Emphatic, all way, way down there. And that's bad for them. Emphatic, we didn't really get to see what he could do in any part of the session because of that crash that we went over. But yeah, this is the result for that. So we're going to go to Q2, and this is all about finding the top 10 positions in qualifying 3. Who will go through? Who will be in that fastest lap shootout? And it's going to be interesting. We do expect a dry session here, so we expect slick tyres, the soft tyre compound to be heading out here in a more traditional session in a way than that previous session there, John.
Yes, indeed. And now it comes down to how many tires do you want to use to get yourself into Q3. We've had one session where they haven't had to use 2 sets of tires at least, so they should be sitting pretty with enough tire compounds. But again, the question is asked, Do you go out and set a sighter lap after all of that pressure, after all of that anticipation with the drying track? Now it will probably be a predominantly dry track, and with the optimal grip levels. I think one of the problems we saw actually in that qualifying session was just adjusting the setup and the brake bias. We saw a lot of people locking up the brakes into the last chicane, and that can be some very difficult things to fine tune when the grip levels are changing. Interestingly enough, looking at the split times, the sector times, just for that previous qualifying session, all of the drivers in the knockout zone lost their time in that second sector with the fast flowing corners, but also the slowest sector of the lap. So indicating mistakes from those drivers.
Yep, and we can get a quick look at the total stats for Elray Giri. 32 race starts, 393 points, 9 podiums, and 20 wins. That's completely wrong. That's not right at all. He's, I believe, got 4 wins in the championship, and it's 3 DNFs for him. So he's got 2 of those this year. One of them, of course, coming back in Zandvoort in season 3, and he got a win, I believe, last season at Monza. So Elray Giri, who he's doubled his win count already this season. He's looking to just get in there, make big gains this weekend with Tiamat Marduk out of it. Alex Gillen, of course, still there. He's picked up that intermediate lap point already, so he's closed down the gap. He was very happy with that in the previous session. But the Aston Martin driver now, he's out there, and we can have a real nice flying lap here, because I think any hints that it rained in the previous session, that will be far gone from this track now, and we can sweep through this lovely remodelled Bar-Fog-Shop circuit for this game with all the new runoff areas and all of that stuff. It looks absolutely resplendent, I must say, as we come up to the start-finish line and head up to La Source, the first corner, which is so dramatic in the races. Big braking there just before the 50-metre marking board, and now with that gravel on the outside, you cannot push your luck at all as you head down towards Eau Rouge and Radillon. And it is just a massively impressive corner, completely flat out there, just managing the twitch throughout all of it. Open up the DRS, Kemmel straight, falls flat, up the hill towards Lake Holm, and we'll see his first sector split, which is indeed a 31.251 for the Aston Martin driver. Looking impressive out there at the moment. Let's see if anyone can match it.
At the moment, that's completely in line with the last time set in qualifying 1. So at the moment, the track not getting any faster. So that indicates that the track was already pretty dry at the end of quali 1. So it'll be interesting to see whether drivers can push the absolute limit. Just some information coming into us as well that in terms of setup, a lot of drivers are running high differential settings, which can lead to a bit of snappiness on traction, but definitely good drive out of the corners. So a lot of drivers going for high-risk setup in this qualifying session. And it looks like to be just on rails at the moment for Elray, so it looks like this is going to be a very good lap. And yes, it is a good time in the second sector, about 0.3 faster than the times that we saw in Quali 1. So this is looking to be a good lap. Can he nail the final braking zone? It'll be interesting to see. And we've already got Punju off into the gravel. I don't think he started a lap, or is that a mistake during the lap? I'm not quite sure. Doesn't look like he's on a lap. Right across the line of 42.6. That is a good time. And we'll have to wait and see how that stacks up against everybody else. As we have Jorpa coming across the line, a very fast driver in Quali 1 and fast driver in Quali 2 as well, as the times keep tumbling.
Yeah, now it's Nagura out of the final corner. He's fastest through the first sector. Big slide out the final corner. Actually lost time throughout all of it. Adam Sanderson picking up good times. I think they're working together. Those Mercedes are very close. Lots of times coming over the line now. GB68 out there. I think Punju was maybe just making a hash brown of getting out of the way of some faster traffic out there. Alex Gillen at the moment, he's coming through the curve. Paul Ferrer towards the double left-hander of Blanchemont. Flat out it will be for the car in the Haas colours, and down towards the old bus stop chicane. It's not really called the bus stop anymore, but we all want to call it that, so we'll do that. And then it's just got, I believe, Emmy Gaming or Lolinova just in front of him there, just causing him a little bit of disruption through those final corners. But he jumps up into third place. But 1:42.1 from Jorpa, that is looking like a mighty impressive time. It could be a time to beat in this session. We'll have to see what Lolinova can do, because he was really quick through Q1 in that last session.
Indeed, yeah, a lot of quick drivers out there. I just had 10 seconds of nostalgia in my head thinking about the old bus stop chicane, which I'd completely forgotten about. But good memories from this circuit, some great races that have happened here, and I'm sure we'll have a great race today, some very on-the-limit driving. And I can also say that Punju was on a lap when he went off, so looking like a mistake spinning into the gravel. So our first major non-collision mistake happening there. But enough time to get another lap on the board, that's for sure. So no big deal, no damage done there. As we see Lolanoba going for his first lap of the day. Let's see if we can get some sector times in. Nothing on the boards as of yet that I can see. Some potential problems with the timing on my end, but it's looking nice. It's looking very sort of calm and collected, and for someone on his debut, this is exemplary, as we have some yellows, but that is just for slow cars in the last sector. Nothing to worry about unless they go onto the racing line, and we'll have to wait and see. Here we go. And once again, Chaos's cars are going literally onto the grass to avoid getting penalties for holding up cars. That's quite an efficient way to do it, that's for sure. Down into the last couple of turns here. Spot the braking zone, get it on the brakes. Lovely rotation onto the curbs. That is how to do it. And using all of the exit curb, a tiny bit of wheel spin on the exit across the line, and it's enough for P3. What a good lap.
Yeah, but not as good as Meraki's. He's gone to the top of the timing screens in that Williams car. Of course, he won here all the way back in season 1 of the championship, so he knows what it's like to taste champagne at this circuit, but that was back on F1 22. That's how long ago that was. So Meraki, he's had a bit of a fluctuating year, showed some signs of improvement back in the last round, but just didn't manage to convert it on the day. He, started really well, almost led the race at one point, but just hasn't been able to get it all the way through a session here. He's been doing quite well in the F2 on his starts as well. So Meraki, at a circuit he likes, a circuit we know he can win at, is he someone who can pull out a very, very decent result today?
I think so. Meraki seems to have the pace to fight at the front, has just got a bit unlucky in terms of strategy and a couple of mistakes in the last couple of races. So the potential is definitely there. I'm also getting some information that the times possibly set by the top two, but definitely by Meraki, were set on a new set of tyres compared to a used set of tyres. So that is a potential indication just for a couple of tenths of the pace, if not a bit more. But that time from Meraki, very, very impressive nonetheless.
Yep, Alex Gill on the radio saying he's tempted to go out early on a new set. So get out of the mess. I don't know if anyone tuned into the F3 yesterday, but everyone was driving very, very slowly, hoping to go fastest right at the end. Of course, slipstream really matters in this game, so maybe Alex Gillen thinking, if I just get myself out of that mess, don't try to get a slipstream, maybe I'll lose a bit of time for the first sector, but I'll gain it for the second sector because I'll have that clean air, I'll have the confidence, I'll just be out there on my own. We'll see what he can do. But Alex Gillen, yeah, he's out there already. 6 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock as things stand. And he is indeed on an outlap. So he's going out a little bit earlier. And a few other cars, I think, just deciding to get out there too. GB68, El Ray Giri are cars that are out there. El Ray Giri has invalidated his outlap. That doesn't matter. One Kahoot. But GB68 also out there on an outlap. So people just trying to get out of that melee right at the end here. And if they feel they've got the pace to go through, it's not a bad option. In the drop zone, as things stand with 5 minutes and 48 seconds remaining, is that guy Vince, Arsenault, Emi, Niguri, and Punju. Punju, of course, making a mistake on his lap, so we haven't really seen true potential of pace. But they were both in 14th and 15th, those McLarens in Q1, so it may be tough for them to get through. GB68 saying, final run, then we go for it. Give everything on this one. So he's going to go for one final run here, John, and he's in 9th position, so he's really on the bubble here. So he needs to find a bit of time on the slap and hope that he can get through into Q3.
Indeed, it all comes down to this one, taking the wide line into the last corner to get the most grip and traction and speed off of that through La Source. Very, very good line through there. Let's see, does he stay flat through? We haven't got the onboard, but let's see. It looks like it's an easy flat now through the Eau Rouge Radion complex there onto the Kemmel straight. just have the DRS open, just minimize the friction on the tires, try and stay, as we can see in the background, the Red Bull warming the tires instead. That's a optical, funny visual to see through Malmedy now onto the curb, but not too much, not bottoming the car out. Lovely to see through Brussels, down, or Bruxelles, as they would say in Belgian, French, I guess. No-name corner. I will keep calling it no-name corner because it's been so many years called that way. Through Pouan, the most difficult corner on the track, I think. Nailing it, though. Just 2 wheels on the curb, but well within the track limits. This is looking like a blistering lap at the moment. I haven't seen a missed apex yet. This is on fire. I think maybe, potentially, going towards some of the top times of the leaderboard. And now it's all a case, once again, of keeping it just flat, minimizing the distance that you travel, spotting that turning point, Blanchimont. It's kind of a blind entry apex here. You just got to spot it and just hope that the car doesn't snap on you. And now the only thing is that famous braking zone, braking, lovely stuff, not getting the car snapping on you, and the rotation coming to him very, very easily. That is a good demonstration of lap, and it's P3. Good lap.
Yeah, very, very good. His teammate just behind. He's not improving on his time, so he's going to be going to the pits. Have to try and get in and out. Meraki saying, no way I'm giving someone a tow. So he is looking for space. He's looking to not give anyone the advantage of getting through here. I believe there is a Haas of Alex Gillen approaching the end of the lap. He's gone fastest through the middle sector. Not much time found through the first sector, but that would indicate that they had a bit of tow on their opening lap, their opening run in this session. So down in that one, but if you can find time without the dirty air through the second and third sectors, it's worth going for it. And he goes up into third, so that's good. Just ahead of GB68, who's probably done his final run too. So that puts him in a very, very decent position. Is it enough to keep him through? I think it very much could be. And we do have a few more cars out there just wanting to attack this one. Meraki, he's going to be starting his final lap now. He's already at the top of this timing screen. But with just 2 minutes and 26 seconds left, a big, big snap out of Lasor. Slightly distracted by the McLaren of Punju coming out there. And that has probably cost him a little bit of time as he runs up to Eau Rouge and Radion. And it will just keep on hemorrhaging time all the way to the breaking point of Lasor, right at the top of the Kemmel Straight here.
Yeah, and that's going to hurt a lot because his Sector 1 time of his fastest lap was 0.2 faster than anybody else's. So losing that time at the start of the lap is going to cost him dearly. And over the curb, bottoming out the car into the gravel trap. That is lap over, sadly, for Meraki. I honestly think, though, that lap is going to be good enough, the first one that he did, to get him through to Quali 3. So he's not in danger, not in trouble at the moment. But for sure, not the confidence boost that he needed into the last qualifying session. Famous last words from me, obviously. I don't want to jinx him, but I think it'll be fine. Looking at those sector
going out too. If Yorpa's retired from the session, he's had enough. If Meraki's going out, Yorpa's going out too. So I think he's comfortable enough here. Razin Shai, though, isn't comfortable. He's in 9th position. He's just starting his lap. DRS open. He just needs to find a bit of time. He has a distant tow from a Mercedes ahead there, and he has found a little bit of time as he clatters into some of the polystyrene sponsor boards there on the exit there. I think it may have been a brake marker though, so that won't be helpful to the other drivers as they break downhill into Bruxelles. This long right-hander doesn't quite feel like it's ever going to end that corner, but it does, and into Speaker's corner here, the left-hander, down towards Pouan. Razin Shai, he's on an okay lap here. It's all about the second sector, where you can find that time.
In comparison to everyone else, he is actually a 10th up in Sector 1. It's just Meraki's first sector time that is absolutely blistering pace. Let's see about Sector 2. He's just about to cross the timing beam. What's it going to be? And it's on point. It's looking like it's going to be a solid lap. It's all about that last sector braking. Literally, one braking zone can make or break this lap at this point. But the times are so close as we've got another radio. Felt like a good lap. Let's see about the times. It is P5 at the moment, so that is safe for the moment. A little bit of a lockup. That might cost Razin, and that is definitely going to cost him. Taking the Mark II Escort rally line through that corner, not the fastest way to do it, but I will applaud the style. And unfortunately, P9...
Yeah, it's put
in
massively in danger. He's hit the checkered flag now, so we are on our final runs, and Razin Shai is going to be at risk if the likes of Peya, Adam Sanderson, Nagira, Tom, Emmy Gaming, and Punju can improve through that final sector. I think Peya's had a big moment. He won't be improving. Just saw the yellow flag come out there. He's lost his front wing on the exit of Piff Path. I think attacking that curb too hard has upset the car. Now it's Punju out there who's looking to improve. Emmy Gaming also looking to improve. He's a little bit earlier in the lap though, so we'll go over to Punju. He's invalidated his time. He won't be improving. So Razin Shai looking safer and safer as things stand. Emmy Gaming through this last part of the lap. What can he do here? What can he do to improve? Tom also out there. He's right behind the stricken car of Peya there. So that may have just cost him a little bit of time. Tom, of course, winning the Season 3 champion, was at this racetrack just hours ago. Now going over the line, he improves to 7th. That pushes Razin Shai on to the bubble. Now Razin Shai is out because it is who is improved. I believe that is Emmy Gaming is improved. And now Adam Sanderson could hurt them both, but no, he's lost a lot of time through that first sector. A bit of a mistake there. So it's Razin Shai who's out of qualifying 2. Adam Sanderson is in that rut as well. Peya not improving. Both Mercedes out. And Punju, with a mistake on his opening lap, put all the pressure on that final lap, and it didn't give him a chance to get out. Arseno, who retired early, just getting through there in his first ever qualifying session in the F1. He makes it all the way to Q3. So does Lolonoba, right up to the top. That's a massive improvement.
Yeah, it is. Once again, Lolonoba just proving that pressure doesn't exist, apparently. And that is just impressive beyond belief. It's unfortunate for people like Punju who just couldn't get the lap together, but once again, it's all about the qualifying pace over just one single lap. You have to get it all together on that lap. And we've seen, even for people like Razin, just making a mess of that last corner. And that has cost him in terms of being out in quali there. You can see in P11. So I think one of the people that I least expected to see out in quali 2, as well as Perja having that massive mistake at the end there. So you can see Punju 25 seconds behind. I can promise you, in terms of race pace, definitely not that far behind. But there's some drivers that are better in racecraft than in quali. We've seen it so many times in real life Formula 1 as well, that you have qualifying specialists. People like, for example, George Russell, Mr. Saturday, sorry. And yeah, it just happens that way sometimes.
It's where you get the points. So, you know, you maybe get 1 point for Intermediates Championship at the Creator Series in the qualifying. It's not worth anything else. So, if you can be race better, then you want to be better in the race. But I tell you what, if we jump back over to qualifying 3, the heavens have opened. And it's saying light rain in 5 minutes on my time. I tell you what, there is light rain right now. So that will kick off a flurry of activity here. And we could see the fastest laps of this session being run right at the start of this session here. It would not surprise me if we saw every car out on track within the next 10 seconds.
I'd be spamming buttons on my wheel right now, trying to get out of the pit lane first. And there we go. I think Alex Gillen out of the pits first. He knows what he's doing. And I do predict possibly that they might have just one lap to set a fastest time. If the rain intensifies, we have no idea whether it's going to intensify or not, but the track's looking quite dry for the moment. So it might be the reverse scenario of what we saw in Q3, which is going to be very interesting. As you can see, the rain on camera is quite intense. So that might, again, confidence. Once again, we're faced with the situation where drivers have got comfortable with the dry tyres and have started setting consistent laps. And straight away, you know, Belgium just says, nope, we're going to just throw a curveball at you once again.
Yeah, indeed. And your old teammate, actually, Alex Gillen, going all the way back to the AOR days, indeed. So I'm sure you'll be hoping for a good result from your old teammate. Can you remember working well together back in the day, or was it a frosty relationship? Was like Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton back at Mercedes?
I was a well, still am a fan of Alex Gillen. I'll say I'm a fan of all of these drivers. They're just so good. I cannot keep up with them. Couldn't keep up with them back in the day. Was teammate with him on F1 2013 in Ferrari, if I remember rightly, on Apex Online Racing series, which I don't think exists now. But it was a good relationship. He definitely knew how to sort of give tips and set up improvements and all of that, up until the point in Monaco where I broke my front wing and unintentionally sort of took him out of the race. I can't confirm nor deny that.
I think it's
after
intentional.
that,
I think it was intentional.
He made sure, most definitely, yes, of course. And after that, he made sure to let me know that he was definitely the fastest driver. I remember at Spa, he had already overtaken me after his first pit stop, and I had yet to pit. So he was definitely a very fast driver back in the day. But no, it was good times racing with Alex. He's a very knowledgeable driver. He's somewhat of a thinking driver when he's in a comfortable position. When he's on top of his game, he can really think about the best strategies and all that. We've seen sometimes the racecraft, it's always a bit aggressive when you're trying to fight with drivers that are similar paced, and so for most of our drivers here, they are always wanting to show that they can be the fastest, that they can be P1, so sometimes it can get a bit heated. But Alex, when he's out in clean air, we saw in Hungary last time, he was just gone, vanished into the wind.
Absolutely. You heard it here first. Item Music's got better racecraft than Alex Gillen. But Alex Gillen out there in qualifying, this is going to be his one lap to Vulham, and it is going to be all or nothing here for him. He said he didn't want to burn those tyres out on the outlap, but these conditions are now best for the Inters. They certainly are. Down through Pouhon, just carefully balancing understeer and oversteer through that very difficult corner in these conditions, and now through Pith Path and towards the right-hander of Campus, and we'll round out this second sector. We won't quite know comparatively where he is because he's the first car out on track. Don't want to use too much of that carb on the left. It can really upset your lap. Towards Blanchimont now, this double left-hander. Does he commit to flat out in these conditions? He's not come across light rain in this session yet so far, so he's really going to have to be careful. And there we are, towards the bus stop. This is his lap. If he wants pole position, he has the best track possible. He's got flying Aston Martins behind, and he needs to have a good time here. 1:52 for Alex Gillen. El Rey Giri now around the final corner. GB68 is going to go over. He doesn't beat that time. El Rey Giri, he doesn't beat the time. Only good enough for the front row as things stand. But Meraki, he was fastest in Q2, well, until Ononoba set that lap, but he has only got second here, and that is looking detrimental to him. Tom's only gone sixth. Emmy Gaming out there at the moment. He's coming towards these final couple of corners. Could it be a big upset from one of the reserves? It's Emmy, Arsenault and Yorpa yet to set the laps. Yorpa has looked quick, but Emmy's not set a good lap time there. Yorpa, can he do something? No, only 8th position. And now it's Arsenault on his first ever start in the F1 Creator Series. Can he do anything to upset that huge lap time that Alex Gillen put in? Really benefiting from the track being at its driest as he hit it for the first time. Arsenault through the final corner. I can already tell you it's not going to be the best for pole. It's only good enough for 10th. And that could be it for qualifying, because I don't think anyone's going to improve here.
Alex Gillen managed to set the fastest Sector 2 time by 0.4 of a second compared to everybody else. If that is not nailing the first lap of intermediates, I do not know what it would mean. That is just a sensational bit of driving right there. And, well, I don't see how that's going to be beaten if the rain continues to fall here. It's very visible on track that there is more rain compared to the start of their laps, where you could barely see the rain accumulating in puddles. It was interesting to see how the cars were oversteering already halfway through the lap, so indicating that the grip levels dropped off. And in looking at the leaderboard there, it kind of demonstrates who went out on their lap first. You've got Alex Gillen, who was first out of the pits, and Arsenault, who was, I think, last across the line. And it just appears that the track has dropped off in terms of conditions, just in the space of 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Alex had that advantage. The Haas garage, it's furthest down the pit lane. He hit the track at the best time. He was careful on his outlap. He didn't want to use too much of the rubber out when it was dry. But by the time he hit that circuit, it was the best conditions for his tyre that anyone had. And he used it to his advantage. And he's took pole position here. Unless someone can pull out an absolute worldie of a lap time. But I very much doubt it. There are cars going again here. I believe that guy Vince has gone for another lap. He's in 7th position at the moment. Maybe just thinking there's something he left out there on the table. Have the conditions got worse enough for him though? Already 3/10 down. So that's a big lump of time to regain through the rest of the lap. And in validation to boot, that means that guy Vince out there at the moment, I think he'll be peeling into the pits. And it's just a waiting game. But I don't think the rain's going to go in this session. We don't expect this this cloud to move on before the next 4 minutes are completed. So that guy Vince going to come into the pits, and I think Alex Gillen's just done a superb job there. Absolutely superb. Big shout out to Lolanoba. He's got into 5th position on his first ever race here. Yeah, that's rain. The rain's got us. So that guy Vince admitting defeat there, and he knows he won't be improving. Emmy and Arsenault and Yorpa, they were the last cars out on track, and they have set the slowest lap time. So it was almost as they came in, those were the lap times that set. It was only Meraki who was slightly out of sequence, who actually jumped ahead of his position on track, if you're following what I mean. But yeah, fascinating there. Front row Alex Gillen and Meraki. That could be spicy into turn 1.
You can actually see it in the sector times, where Meraki was fastest in Sector 1, and then in Sector 2 and Sector 3 he dropped about 0.2 of a second each split time, but definitely a front row. That is one to look out for. And on a track where sometimes starting P2 is better. Oh, lovely drift through there, I must say, into the pits. Lovely stuff. Good demonstration of car control skills and having a bit of fun with the rain. It's good for the fans, that is. As we have Meraki back out on track, wanting to take that P1. He's not happy with P2. I was just about to say, what, big slide through the bottom of with Eau Rouge there. It's difficult because sometimes on this track, starting P2 is better. You get the toe up past Radion, and sometimes you can just get side by side, if not in front, up into Les Combes. And it can be best, but it all depends on how the race goes, and sometimes you just want to be out in that lead to avoid incidents. La Source is very well known for first lap incidents and shenanigans. Can't do a Kimi Raikkonen anymore, where you just go onto the outside of the corner, floor it, and gain 3 positions, sadly. But I'm sure we'll see some drivers attempt that.
Yep, we do have Meraki out there, and he's hoping to be able to pull something off here. Of course, very impressive resume in the Creator Series. 7 wins, 920 points. He's got the second most points in the Creator Series, and he just wants a little bit more airtime. Arsenault also out there on the lap. People just thinking, you know what, I might as well go out there. What if I can find a little bit of time on my lap, just edge out and gain a position on the others? But you know what, Ben, I'm going to throw it over to you. What were your view of the garages there just before those laps came out?
When you had the drivers, everyone was immediately checking the weather monitor and then seeing it's going to be rainy. It's not going to be getting any better, so thinking, right, while the track is at its driest, they're going to be jumping out as fast as they can. I think I put it a little bit on the back end, but Alex Gillen, in the race to get out, you could see the pace of his inputs. It was as if he was playing a fighting game and trying to get some combos strung together. He was jumping in and out of menus, checking setups, checking fuel, and then jumping out with not a second to spare. Wanted to get out, get in those best conditions as soon as possible, because even just after the first lap, a lot of drivers were commenting that it was visually wetter, and through single corners they were losing multiple tenths.
Yeah, of course, the longest lap of the calendar, so it means that when you go past the pit box, you've got to really pick the right time, because it may not be rainy right now, but by the time you reach the second sector, that's almost a full lap completed of other circuits, and that's just, that would be your chance to box, but you've got to do another sector in these challenging conditions. So very interesting how the rain affected the end of this qualifying session here. We do have a few more moments, but Meraki on the team radio again saying, you know, I'm losing time everywhere, and he is going for a Gymkhana style end of qualifying here, isn't he, John?
Most definitely, yeah. I'm impressed, to be honest, with this driving. This is kind of more like the driving I'm used to. But he's definitely demonstrating that he's got the car under control at all times, even when the grip is not optimal. Perhaps just going out there as well and continuing the lap at pace just to get an eye in case the race is wet. So that can be very important for a first lap. And yeah, definitely, you can see just visually the car is just sliding. The tires just not gripping up at the same level, and so you've got this little wiggle effect out of the corners where the driver's just pushing the throttle a little bit too much. It's actually the optimal way to do it. You just want a tiny bit of slip angle, as they call it, and that just indicates that you're right on the limit of the car. But it can be, well, I think Meraki has binned it, actually.
Yeah,
it might
be.
I'm not quite sure.
I think he has out of the final corner. I'd switch to
So
him
I
if
said
could,
nothing.
but I can't. Lolanoba, interestingly, he's at the fastest time in this final sector. Now, the final sector is where we are now. Now, his conditions were worse than Alex's by a considerable sum, but he still found good time through here. That would maybe signify that he's running low downforce on that car compared to others.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice running low downforce, but definitely if the race is dry, I think that's the correct setup to be on. You definitely want to force other people to use their battery a bit more, and you can be frustrated, stuck in a DRS train if you've got too much downforce. So it's kind of a risk, really. You never know whether it will pay off until you've done the first couple of laps of the race, and you're like, well, this is working or this is not working. By that point, it's too late. But drivers will have their race strategy, their plan ready for action, and planning is essential, but that falls apart normally at the first corner or before the first corner. So it'll be very interesting to see. Obviously, if you're starting towards the front without DRS on lap 1, if you have too much downforce, you could just be swarmed by cars literally by the top of Lecon.
Yep, Elway Geary, championship leader. He's going to be the final person to cross the line here. Third place for him today. Just missed out on the front row of the grid, but consistency has been his game. And if he can convert that into 18 points for his championship charge, he'll be very happy with it. But it's Alex Gillen who should take the plaudits today. First place. Fantastic final lap. Tom on the radio saying, we improved. So he actually found some time, so that shows how bad his initial lap was. GB68 is in 4th, Lonanoba in 5th, Tom in 6th, that guy Vimps in 7th, 8th is Yorpa, Emmy is in 9th, and 10th is Arsenal. Now, quickly, Ben, I'm going to throw it over to you. What is your... well, actually, you've got a quick clip for us before we go into the race, don't you?
Yep, not much to really comment on in terms of Meraki's bin at the end of the Q3. He knew it was coming out at the end. He didn't have a lap in the book, so he just thought, right, let's see if I can make it to the finish line in the last 10 seconds. And, well, it kind of speaks for itself. He goes for what we call a tactical line, but then finds himself without a rear right tyre.
Lost out there. Ben, one word, who's winning the race?
Who's winning the race? Honestly, Gillen looks like he has it on lock. He's in a prime position. I know that both of you were talking about him earlier, and in that power play position, he's got all the cards in his hand. That's where he's in his element, when he has control of the race. So if I had to put it on anyone, I'm keeping an eye on Gillen tonight.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Do you agree with that quickly, John, before we go to the start of the race here?
I'm not quite sure. I think Meraki might give him a run for his money, so we'll have to wait and see. One thing's for sure, if you can remain in the DRS zone, you've got a good chance of race victory, so I think Meraki will be trying that. And yeah, all around the pit stops as well, if you can break that DRS zone, it's going to make a lot of difficulty for your rivals. So, turn 1, here we go.
Yeah, we will have no formation lap, I believe, so we will jump straight into... what will be 44 laps, I believe, of battling, and will be interesting to see what tyres can have. But who can lead on lap 1 all the way up at the end of Kemmel Straight? We see it sometimes. Third place may be a better place to start than first because of that slipstream. We are mere moments away from the start of this race, though, and yeah, I'm very, very excited. Alex Gillen on pole. Meraki is in second position, both filling out the front row. When 5 lights go out, the creators go racing in Belgium, and it's a good start by Gillen. He's holding on to that position. Lolanoba already looking to attack into turn 1. Elway Giri has gained a place on Meraki, though Meraki having to defend from that. Further action down the back. Emmy gaining a place on GB68. GB68 actually losing out massively at the start there. Alex Gillen looks in a very, very good position here at the start of this one. Elway Giri maybe under a little bit of pressure from the Williams of Meraki. Meraki will open up, no DRS, because that will be next lap. He'll look for the slipstream, but Lolanoba up the inside. He's gone for 2 moves, and Elway Giri has cut the Italian off. Lolanoba into third here. A fantastic start from the Italian.
What an amazing debut. That was just so risky to chuck it up the inside. And he just spotted the braking zone absolutely perfectly. From Meraki just locking up into turn 1, that's cost him 2 positions so far. It's looking like that car is not racy at the moment, but it could come to him during the race. In terms of strategies, it's a split strategy. You wonder whether they'll go 1 stop or 2 stop. It depends on what's happened during a race. Tom 97 making up a couple of positions as well. As you can see, most of the drivers on medium tyres, with Lolanoba on the softs. That could be why he was able to get such a lightning start. But definitely strategy is going to work, as Meraki just jostling for position with Yorpa there as well. What an interesting first 2 sectors. I'm sure there's nothing difficult going to happen into the last braking zone of the lap here.
Yeah, Lolanoba's taking full effect of those soft tyres, and Meraki on these mediums. Is he going to be under attack from Yorpa here? I think that guy Vince was getting a little bit punchy on the cars ahead. Yorpa under threat indeed from Tom. 2 Red Bulls here fighting with the Alpine. The Alpine is fighting very hard back. He's going to go and lunge to the inside of Yorpa. He's going to try and push the car out on mediums. He's on softs, is the Dutchman of Tom, and he has just managed not to get that position. But there we are. DRS is going to be open this lap, and Elway Giri will look to take the lead of the race with that DRS effect. Now, Alex Gillen knows the score. He's not going to battle this one too much. It's going to be a bit of a cat and mouse, playing and working together with the team as we have a bit of a DRS race. But in the background, Tom, he was on the attack. Now he's under pressure from that guy Vince once again. And those 2 Red Bulls working well to try and put off the attack and advances of the Alpine.
You could just clearly see the superior grip on the soft tyres. He was able to chuck it into the turn, get it stopped, and yeah, that guy Vince could... well, he's gone wide as I say that, just nearly dipping a wheel into the gravel, but lost momentum, and that guy Vince just down the inside in time for Pujon, and that is going to make Tom's position even more difficult. He'll want to get that position back now, frustrated that he's got superior grip and he can't use it to full effect. That's the danger of starting on the soft compound tyre. If you do have a worse race start, you get stuck in a strategy that you don't want. As we see now, Elway just not possible. It's not physically possible around this circuit to get away from the DRS train. There's just so many straights, so many high-speed corners, and the downforce of these cars, the ground effect, really keeping them very close together. And it's going to be just DRS swapping, I think, for the first couple of laps. Lolanoba not going for a move there at the moment. As one person going for a move, though, is Meraki, just sensing that there was a car's width there up the inside, ascending it a little bit, but not wanting to risk too much, although he commits to it into La Source. And so does that guy Vince, right up the inside. That was a brazen move there, nearly ended in disaster. All the front wheels locked up there, but no harm done, no front wings lost. And it looks like Lolanoba is struggling right now, as it looks like he is easy pickings right now for Meraki. He has DRS, but the slipstream, look at this, as 2 wide now between Alex Gillen and Elway. Who's going to get it? Gillen gets him back, and that is the DRS swapping. They can use that to good effect to get away from the rest of the pack, actually, so it'll be interesting to see whether they can do that.
Yeah, battling very, very hard through that midfield section can cost you DRS, and once you're out the DRS, that is going to be seriously costly to your race, because you can gain about 7/10 of a second here by working together with that DRS slipstream with the others. It's going to be costly if they fall out of that. So that's why when Tom got attacked on the previous lap, actually his first thing wasn't to go back on the attack, because that could have cost him the DRS on the car ahead. So got him out of that toe. So it's all a bit kind of working together, strategic, when to attack, when to defend, certainly in these circumstances. But Alex Gillen, He was a pole sitter. He led lap 1. He's leading lap 3, but it's very likely those positions will switch again. Lonanoba was under serious pressure last lap from the likes of Meraki. Meraki was now passed by Yorpa. It's pass or be passed. And that guy Vince saying, try not to lose DRS. That could be really bad. Exactly explaining my point here. Now, Lonanoba, 2 tenths behind El Rey Giri. El Rey Giri, 4 tenths behind Alex Gillen, but it's closing and closing. And what he maybe even think about a move into La Source? It'd be a waste because he'd lose it straight away down into turn 1, and it's just going to slow them down even more. So really, it's who's going to fight behind that's going to be interesting here. Arsenault and Peya certainly seem to be getting into it on the entry of La Source. I think that's Arsenault gaining a place. He lost out on positions at the start of this race, but Alex Gillen, there we are, charging up through Radion, through the Kemmel Straight. Lonanoba jerks to the right hand side. He is looking to also follow through on El Rey Giri, and he does. Into second position goes Lonanoba, but El Rey Giri once again takes the lead of this race. Lonanoba will look to get his first time leading an F1 Creator Series race down and done in this race.
Lonanoba could be the key to a lot of things in this race on those softer compound tyres, because if he does either lead the race or lose the DRS at any point because of that compound difference, it could mean that it splits the pack into 2. Some people are already in danger of losing the DRS. Arsenault in P12, 1.2 seconds back on those softer compound tyres. It looks like the soft compound tyres are just going off a cliff already in terms of pace. So it looks like the pack could be split in 2, and Tom97 is the wrong side of that pack right now. I was going to comment on the start of the lap that there was a concertina effect into La Source on the start of this lap, where one driver locked up. I think it was Arsenault locked up and just compressed everybody behind him, and so they're going to have to try extra hard, maybe drain the battery to get back up into the DRS train. And yes, everybody starting to comment now. It's better to be strategic about this race and save the tyres. I think that's what everybody is going to do. Pit stops and getting that optimal track position is going to be interesting. Will we see somebody undercut to try and break the DRS train to everybody else?
Yeah, we have a little bit of info on those soft tyres. About lap 9 is when the pace differential is important. We'll certainly monitor that for Lonanoba. He's gone 4 laps into this stint so far. He's going to be hoping to get somewhere around the midway point. Without safety car intervention, I'm expecting this for the majority to be a one-stop race, but Lonanoba now closing and closing, DRS open, simple as you like. That is the first time he's led in the F1 Creator Series for the Italian Stallion, and he is going to be happy with that one. Now we can quickly jump over to Ben on the clipbook, because I believe you've got some incidents from the start of this race here.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a moment from one and only... We'll take a look from Punju's perspective first, because it gives us a little bit of context. So we had first a little bit of an interaction between Curbs and Punju. Now we're going to take a look from Punju's perspective, because you can see on the left, that was Curbs just going off into the gravel, but you also can see that Peya is on the right side. So he comments in this clip that he had nowhere to go, and then you have a little bit of fallout coming from Curbs' perspective. So starts P16, looking very good, had a very good start, managed to get the jump on Punju and potentially a couple of others here. You can see tends to be a bit of turn 1, Chaos Spires, no difference, and then a little bit of desync contributed to that one as well, making it much worse, eventually dropping down back to the right bottom end of the grid. So unfortunate there for Curbs, but I want to call this a bit of a racing incident in a way, because it was a mix of, if we go back to Punju versus Curbs' perspective, there is a little bit of connection issue that sort of exacerbates that collision, so you can't really swing it either way, and he did have Peya on the inside.
Fantastic. We will jump back to the action, because there has been a bit of a ding-dong battle for lead. Lonanoba, El Rey Giri and Alex Gillen all really getting into it. That strategic mindset out of the mind for a second as they got into it, and now going up to the Kemmel Straight. Looks like Lonanoba's got a decent gap, but El Rey Giri, he's coming from a long way back. He throws it in, a little bit of a lock-up. Will Lonanoba leave the room on the outside of Lecom? He does. Now through Malmedy, a little bit of a shuffle from El Rey Giri. That pushes other cars back, and I believe Yorpa has rocketed up there, and Meraki looking to get involved as well, gain some places back. around the outside of Speaker's Corner will be if he wants to do it. He doesn't do it, but Lolanoba still leading this one. And I tell you what, I thought they were going to be strategic, but they are getting very elbows out there, aren't they, John?
Well, aggression is a type of strategy, I guess. That all started with Lolanoba locking the brakes into the last chicane and then going wide, concentrating everybody up into the start-finish straight. And what a snap from Yorpa there. Lucky to recover that one. My God, that was on the limit. Snapping again through the next corner. Incredible stuff. Some gaps forming now, but they'll definitely close back up with the slipstream effect. Then into La Source, it was Elray, I think, that locked up and pushed everybody wide a little bit. So everybody contributing there to just have that 4 wide down the Kemmel Straight there. And that was impressive stuff. Everybody sort of settled down, as I think that's Tom going up the inside of GB68. Will he make the move? I don't think so. Looks like he hasn't got the traction. No, he doesn't. But it's all kicking off right now, isn't it? Meraki, the humorous team radio behind Elray in front of Killen.
He's
in the danger zone.
He's certainly doomed. He needs to get himself out of that carnage sandwich that he's currently in. 3 attempts behind Elray Giri. Elray Giri will have the DRS on the car in front, but importantly, Lolanoba is going to be under pressure from Yorpa, the Williams ambassador, now going around the outside of Lolanoba in that Red Bull. And Lolanoba just conceding that place, just one place he wanted to concede there. And remember that Yorpa on those medium tyres compared to the softs of Lolanoba. So we are expecting them to come towards a crossover period in terms of pure tyre pace. And I expect the mediums to certainly go a bit longer and be faster at that point. Lolanoba really involved with this one though, and I expect him to at least go for the lead at least one more time before those tyres start to just fall off a bit and he has to suffer the consequences of his decision of going super aggressive on this race start.
Well, so far it's working out because he's the only driver on the soft tyres that has actually gained and managed to maintain positions. You have people like Tom, who started P5, now down to P8. You have Emmy that started P8, just looking at the timing screens here, P11 now, so the soft tyre is not working out as intended. So this could really be the fly in the ointment in terms of strategy, because the Lolanoba will have to pit earlier. So does he go for a complete undercut strategy and try and break that DRS train with some amazing lapses? Wow, impressive line through there, just catching everybody by surprise. And Yorpa just a little bit deep into the turn, having to use the battery, I think, to get back in front, which might actually be an unwise decision now because he's going to give DRS to Lolanoba, but absolutely catching everyone by surprise, proving there is still grip in those tyres. I think Lolanoba is playing everybody for a fool at the moment.
Yeah, there's 2 packs. There's the Tête de la Course, which is all the way down to 10th position. Lolanoba looking to go to the lead of that pack, and then further down, the Poursuivants in 10th position and downwards. There's the gaps that all matter. Look at that. Elray Giri just squeezing into 2nd position. And at the end of that long Kemmel Straight, you just start to feel the desperation set in. Go for a move, and if the space isn't left, then it could be dangerous for both of you. But Elray Giri putting himself into that position, Yorpa having to concede, so losing 2 positions down the straight there. And now Lolanoba leading once again, 7 laps in to this race, 8 laps in I should say indeed, 7 laps done on those soft tyres that he has. And at the end of this one, he will be really coming close to the point where those soft tyres will just start to work their way, their magic. And look at that, you can tell already, a big snap on the exit of the Fanya chicane. And that could put him at a disadvantage all the way down here, because Elray Giri, he knows when to attack and he will not miss a move if one is on the offering.
Yeah, most definitely you could see how close they are now. I think the crossover point has happened, it's been and gone. And unfortunately for Lolanoba, he is easy pickings here. He's going to defend to the inside. Can Elray get it stopped? Very, very late braking from Lolanoba. Still has the confidence in that grip, especially under braking, and it looks like he's actually defended the position. This is impressive driving once again, and it doesn't look like Elray's opened his DRS there, which is interesting. playing strategic game, although Alex Gillen does not want to leave him play the strategic game. Here we go. The classic maneuvers now, trying to be in prime position to take the lead of the race. El Rey being very strategic here, wanting that DRS range. And for Lolanoba, this could be painful. He hasn't got a good drive out of Radion. And it's going to possibly be 3 wide, I think, in a minute here. Where do they go? Left or right? Lolanoba, this is reminiscent of Schumacher and Hakkinen. Alex Gillen on the grass. Do they both make the move? They do. Wow, incredible. Alex Gillen not quite making it stick. And it looks like Lolanoba has defended very well. El Rey profiteering from that incredible stuff. I have deja vu and goosebumps from those moves right there. Incredible driving.
Yeah, this looks to be a trio that could go and fight for a long time here. El Rey, Giri, Lolanoba, Alex Gillen, Meraki just on the coattails of these guys. And I think Alex Gillen going down the Kemmel Straight will say, maybe I should have been left more space by Lolanoba, but he had El Rey, Giri on his far right, and Alex Gillen saying, having none of it. He's having none of it, so he is getting right involved. He wants to stake his claim to this championship. He's behind El Rey, Giri in the championship. Lolanoba just joining the championship now. He'll look to score some good points, but he'll be looking at future championships to get involved with here. But we are in the midst of a right ding-dong battle. But look at this, Lolanoba falling off. 8 tenths is the gap. 9 tenths now. El Rey Giri looking to deploy battery. He's got the second gap, and if he can work his magic, he may just be able to stay out of DRS range here of the car behind. Alex Gillen will look for a great exit out of the chicane and towards turn 1 to try and close down that gap just a little bit. Lolanoba's responded, using a bit of battery, and El Rey Giri, I think he's going to suffer here. And the big slide out of here, yes, I think even though he's used that battery to try and split the gap, he indeed hasn't got it, and Lolanoba's responded. DRS will be open. He'll be able to defend from Alex Gillen with that. Will he be able to catch El Rey Giri? That's the interesting thing. 6 tenths is the gap as we go through the kink on the Kemmel Straight, and it will close and close, and the overspeed will be dramatic. We'll go on board with the Sauber. He looks to the outside, and El Rey Giri just hugging the middle of the road there to defend any advances from that Sauber.
All I have to say is, are you not entertained? What a brilliant race so far. This is incredible strategic driving with just the battery management and all of that. El Rey really trying his hardest. He was so close, a 1/10 of a second more, and it would have been absolutely the golden strategy. But unfortunately now, it means that his battery has probably been drained to the last drop, and he's going to have to spend a lap or two recovering that battery. And that means that everybody's going to swarm behind him, and Alex Gillen profits from that by going all the way around the outside of Lolanoba. It's safe to say those tyres, I think, are cooked as Meraki goes around the outside as well. Nearly being forced onto the gravel there, but I think he gets him around the outside. Yeah, Lolanoba having to potentially using his battery as well to defend because of those tyres. We might see him dive into the pits right now. I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to drop off the pack there, and crucially for every driver, and it looks like, yeah, battery flashing. He's used everything he can. It's a valiant effort, and I think he's already proven why he should be on this grid. Will he dive into the pits? No, he does not. He stays out, so determined to stay with the pack, and that is an interesting strategy, but it puts him into a great position, really, for the later stages of the race. Every single lap that he can remain in contention with this pack in the DRS train without having any major time loss is time gained at the end of the race. I think he's in a great position, actually.
Yeah, it's that undercut. Is the undercut going to be enough to offset the advantage of being in this DRS train? I'm not sure. This DRS train goes all the way down to 13th position now as Alex Gillen takes the lead of the race. A DRS move there into turn 1. Meraki looking to get by El Rey Giri too. Just a shuffling of the pack lap by lap, trying to be in the best position at the best time. If any safety car comes out, it gives you the opportunity to pounce first in the pits. And emphatic on the team radio, he's battling for 9th position, and I don't need to do anything stupid. So he's talking about, I think, using and working with Razin Shai here in that DRS train. So Razin Shai, he may be a bit further down this order, but if he can work together, something like working together in the Indy 500 this is, if you can work together with the cars around you, you can just work your way up slowly in the pack. And the Scuderia, 8th and 9th, maybe not where you'd expect to see them in real life, but they are having a decent race here. Certainly Emphatic has finished much further down the order here so far in this championship. Alex Gillen leading on lap 11. Lolanoma not too far behind, and Alex Gillon on the radio here saying back in the lead. He's enjoying this. He's relishing this fight he's having with his championship rival Elway Giri and the others. Meraki and Lolanoma involved in this one certainly too.
I don't think Alex will be saying that down the Kemmel Straight in just a couple of seconds' time. One thing that I want to point out as well is Yorpa, who was fighting towards the front of the pack, has dropped down the order. I think he might have damage back in P14 as we see a move there. I doesn't know who it was. Yorpa in the pits there. Yep, wing damage, some quite serious wing damage there, unfortunately. And it looks like that's a premature pit stop. So he will be looking to absolutely push the limits to try and get back into contention. But that also means that there is now a gap with P12 where no DRS. And up the inside goes El Rey. That was predictable. He's got it done way before the corner. Can Meraki get there? No, not quite. I think Meraki is saving battery here. But Alex, who was comfortable out in the lead as per his own voice, is now not comfortable, but perhaps in the position where he actually wants to be in P2. There's no signs of any ability to create a gap right now at the moment. They're all going around the same pace. The sector times are incredibly consistent from everybody at the moment. That slipstream and obviously the compromise setup that you have to run around here with a little bit of downforce to make Sector 2 bearable is just keeping everybody in contention at the moment. But there's one thing that means is that more chaos is on its way. And as a commentator, as a spectator, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. It's been a breathless opening part of this race. We are just over a quarter indeed, into this race now. And it really just feels like it's all about being in the right position here. GB68 has gone for that move on Lolanova, and it's really important with Lolanova here. As you said, he's going to be a bit of a kingmaker. You don't get stuck behind him when he does fall off the pace here. Lolanova and Tom97 battling hard here. Remember, Tom97 started way down the order. He was pushed out, and he's picked up a warning for track infringements there. So Tom97 battling, it's cost him. It has cost him, and there we are. Just shunts Lolanova off for good measure. That was a tit-for-tat response there from Tom97.
Yeah, unfortunately, some frustrations, I think, starting to rear their heads a little bit towards the, pit stops sort of inbound for the soft compound runners, let's put it that way, as we get another brief 3 wides there, it looks like, for the race lead. They're all battling, they're all trying to maybe even get clean air to cool off the engines a little bit. If you're sat behind all the time, it can mean that, you get that overheating and then you lose power. As Tom nearly up the inside of Infratic. In fact, oh no, he's going to have the outside for this corner, so Infratic defends. But all the time, they're losing time, actually, and it's looking like they might actually lose DRS here. This could be the lap where the race is split into 2 and some people's strategies go awry. The thing for Tom is a couple, maybe 5 laps ago, he was in danger of losing DRS. I think he was down in P10 or something like that. So this is the second time this race that Tom's strategy might be thrown into the bin. Lolanova is crazy, dudes. Well, that's one way to put it. And I'd say impressive on those soft tires. To go that far into the race and still be in contention is impressive. But I think perhaps those glory days of the soft tires are over now. Indeed, he's dropping back now in 8th place.
I think impressively, emphatic. Okay, I think that has just cost him a little bit. He needs to find some serious time out of this chicane. I think he's found a little bit there because there's been a bit of battling up ahead. I think Alex and Meraki getting into it. Emphatic starting, remember, last. He had a collision at Blanchimont with Nagiri, and they have worked their way up. Both Tom97 as well caught out through those qualifying sessions. 15th and 11 points places gained for those two. They're right in this fight now. Emphatic, he said to me yesterday, I could get a top 5 here. He's running in the top 5. I didn't believe him. Maybe I should start believing him more. Elway Giri in first position. Alex Gillen, is he going to go for a move? No, just backing off there. But there we are. I think Emphatic has just, there we are, dropped out of that top 4 battle. That will leave him very, very vulnerable, as there is a slow-moving car through turn 1. It looks like a Sauber to me. But I think ME Gaming has in fact retired in the pit. So that's the sad thing for him, to not have him involved with this race anymore.
Indeed, indeed. It's always sad to see a driver not get to the end, but sometimes it's either the strategy has not gone the way or there's too much damage on the car. Sometimes you can't fight it, and yeah. Better luck next time, as they say. You can't always have the races going your way. We're seeing some gaps forming here, and I think we've had some pit stops. We have Tom and Yorpa actually pitted obviously 2 laps ago, but he's quite close to Tom actually. Razin and Punju also pitting. Razin on the soft compound tires. That's an interesting choice. That one. I don't understand that one.
Yeah, very interesting. I think he just wants to go aggressive here. He's feeling like if he gets out of that DRS train, he will be losing time anyway. So maybe that softs can just off-put that a little bit. Yorpa just in front on those hard tyres. He's looking to go very, very long in this race. It's interesting. We see a few more pit stops through the field, and indeed it is Tom who's the leading car of those who have pitted. Curbs also pitting into the pit here. He will probably feed out into last position, where his fight is. Alex Gillen, Elway Geary getting straight into it there. Alex Gillen was not waiting around before the kink there, and this could be a very spicy four-wide moment. Who knows? GB68 getting involved with this battle, and that's just upset Elway Geary. He's run off the track through Les Combes, and GB68, it's his teammates. How punchy does he want to get with the championship leader? No, he knows the battle he is in. He knows the Constructors is a championship they are fighting for, and just sits and tucks behind. But 2 Aston Martins in the top 3 here, behind Alex Gillen. Alex Gillen just looking to wait for that moment to establish a true lead. But there has been a very decent gap. Emphatic has worked his way back into this one. Tom 97 with those 3-second penalties. He's also part of this fight. But that guy Vince, who was so near the top for so long, he's got a 2-second gap to the cars ahead. I think Lolanoba hanging it out on those softs for so long has cost some other drivers here.
Yeah, indeed, creating the gaps. I'm not sure for Lolanoba, maybe losing too much time now. He's nearly lost a second this lap already, and they're not at the end of the lap. For GB68, how racy is he? Well, he tried to chuck it up the inside of Les Combes, so on a raciness scale, I think that's 11 out of 10. Pretty good. Good stuff, and we're about to see again as we get the DRS train once again. Oh, a mistake from Tom there. He might actually lose out DRS here. He's going to have to drain the battery a little bit to get back into contention, but you don't want to be spinning out of that last turn. It's very important, especially when Sector 1 is basically straights and a hairpin, essentially. So, yes, very, very difficult. The tyres obviously not in the best condition, although Tom is on the hard compound tyres, so he should have the best of the lot of them at the moment. And here we go again. Alex Gillen under attack. He's already down to P3, possibly down to P4. He's going to defend the inside versus Meraki, and is Elray that retakes the lead. So Aston Martin 1-2, we were talking about the Constructors just a lap ago. Well, their situation has got even better, would you believe?
Yeah, El Rey and GB68 now right at the front of this field. Now, team orders, could that come into play? Could GB68 look at Alex Gillen behind and just slow him down enough to lose DRS on El Rey Geary? I think it'd be a little bit too early to go for that strategy, but certainly something they could think about. El Rey Geary, of course, leading the championship, 145 points to his name, and I believe that is a considerable sum in front of Alex Gillen. He wants to extend it. He will be extending it against Tia McMurdoch, because Tia McMurdoch not racing today. He's away at some kind of Xbox Forza event. Who cares, right? But it's all about the Creator Series. El Rey Geary will look to capitalise big on this one, but it does look like a fight between El Rey Geary, Alex Gillen, and GB68 at the moment. Meraki has perennially been involved as well. Tom 97 on these hard tyres is an absolute wild card, because he could dive onto the softs at the end and look extremely quick. We'll have to see how those strategy and how those cards come to play. But Yorpa's just picked up 3 seconds of time penalties, and a considerable sum of our field have actually picked up time penalties here through track limits being pushed. Quickly on a team radio message, Tom saying, don't mess this up. He has cold tyres. Tom fighting there, I believe, on Lolanoba right in the background. So he's just looking to get back in that fight. Tom hoping to ride Lolanoba to the front of this race.
Yes, so Lolanoba has pitted outside of our camera view there and just got out in front of Tom. Probably frustrating for Tom as we're about to have another potential through wide. Does Alex Gillen go to the inside? He does. Does he commit? Oh, he thought about it. GB68 defending around the outside, just leaving a car's width there for Alex Gillen to sort himself out, although it looked like there were a few locked brakes into there. So the drivers, although they're being strategic about it, they are definitely letting other people know that they have the grip in the tyres, that they are willing to battle it out, and that they're not going to let themselves sort of be taken for granted there. And Tom goes around the outside, it looked, of Lolanoba, so that is a move. It looks like Lolanoba struggling on those hard compound tires, and Razin up the inside on those soft compound tires. I said I didn't understand it. Well, that's one use of the soft compounds to get past, I suppose. So it's working out right now. Whether he can get to the end on those tires is another question, but that car has supreme grip. Wow, that was real good turn-in into there. And yes, I think GB68 has it quite right. This is a chess match at the moment. At a very high speed, though, I will admit.
Yeah, and Alex Gillen, I think, is going around the outside of GB68 at Blanchimont. He'll have the inside of the bus stop. That's an impressive move, and pure respect between the two drivers and two friends off of the racing track. But those two will fight for every little piece. GB68, again, game of chess. He knows if I crash out now, if me and Alex Gillen crash out, I could end up worse off. And who's going to lose out there? He's going to lose points in this championship. So, you know, he goes for it around the outside, but if that was the final lap of the race, you'd expect a very different defensive style from the Aston Martin driver. Now, Alex Gillen doesn't have the DRS, so at GB68 says, yeah, you can have the position and take the nice move around Blanchimont, but I'll just take the lead of the race right back. We'll work together. We'll try to extend the gap on those people who have pitted early and are trying to do a different strategy to work their way back into this one and offset us. So, you know, realistically, Alex Gillen going for these moves in unorthodox places around this Spa-Francorchamps circuit, that's going to cost them time in the fight with the real fight, which is those people who pitted early. We're looking at Tom, Lolanoba, Razin Shai. They're hoping that the undercut will seal them the win here in this 44-lap race.
I'm just thinking right now, is it possible that the Aston Martins are working together right now? Because for that overtake to happen, realistically, GB68 had to not use his battery down the Blanchimont sort of corner complex. And would that be forcing Alex Gillen to use his battery a little bit so that the two Aston Martins can sort of be 1-2 or gain an advantage? It's quite an interesting one. Let's see what happens on this straight again. So GB68 in the lead right now, Alex Gillen, not with DRS, but will have a slipstream. And it's looking like the same situation is not repeating. So this is interesting.
Yep.
And Alex...
yeah, he doesn't like it now. He doesn't like it. This type of racing right now. So, 5-10 laps ago, he was loving it. It was great. But now those tyres on the edge of their lifespan, not enjoying it anymore, John.
Yes, it's always an interesting point of view perspective from the driver when you have no cars in front of you and you have a 20-second gap in the lead. Funnily enough, you actually quite enjoy it. However, if you're stuck between your, behind your championship rivals or between two teammates in a sandwich right now, as Alex Gillen is, perhaps there's a little bit of stress and pressure. I'm not quite sure. I'll leave it up to the spectators and the audience to determine that one. And it looks like Alex Gillen, there's been a swap. So it's still Aston Martin. However, El Rey has swapped around with his teammate, doing a little bit of a Tour de France relay there, just swapping teammates.
Yeah, it does look like the echelons of a windy stage of the Tour de France at the moment, certainly. People working together. But I tell you what, we're going to jump over to Ben, who's working wonders on our clip. But thank you for your radio message so far. What have you got to show us here?
Just a little bit of insight. We head back to lap 12. We can catch a little bit of what happened between Lolanoba and Tom 97. So they're heading side by side, heading into the first corner. Now, Lolanoba is on the outside, still on the soft tyres by this point. So they would have seen better days. They would have been on about 25 to 30% wear. Meanwhile, Tom 97 has got that penalty to his name, so he's driving a little bit more aggressively. But on the hards, shouldn't be seeing any wear issues. We come into the first corner, we see them go side by side. Lolanoba going very wide, but keeps the nose in. Even though his axle is behind, you can see the soft tyre is behind the rear of Tom 97. Keeps the nose in, And as a result, Tom 97 he washes very wide, and it ends up with Lolanoba going off into the gravel, conceding behind Vince. So that's what happened. See, Lolanoba did recover well in the end, and now on the hard tyres to the very end. Infratic going up into P7, considering he started in P20. Very impressive run from him in the background, silently gaining those positions. But that's what happens to, at one point, our race leader.
Fantastic insight there. Keep those clips coming. If you want anything played out on the broadcast, get those clips in via Stream Clips channel. ! Discord in the Twitch chat to get those involved. Ben doing a fantabulous job. And again, we switch back over. Elway Giri is now leading the race. But look, Alex Gillen fighting for it. He wants that position up the inside of Lecom. What a beautiful camera shot. We'll follow this all the way down through Malmedy and Ravage and GB68 up the inside. A delightful move from the Brit, and he now takes the lead of the race, and it's a great move, but it doesn't really mean much because he's, after all, he won't be holding that position for much longer, maybe.
I think they're going for a world record of how many switchbacks they can get on consecutive corners. That was pretty impressive. It's nice to see drivers leaving enough gaps and enough, well, at least one car width on the inside or outside. I think for that incident between Tom 97 and Lolanoba, it's on the outside of a corner where you can get some snaps of oversteer, and unfortunately, if you're on the driver on the outside, whether or not it's intentional, you can find yourself just pushed out of any space for you. I think for Lolanoba's race, to be honest, it was all about that pit stop, and it looks like he's got himself back in a good position now ahead of Tom again. So we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. And as we can see once again, into the bus stop chicane, or the ex-bus stop chicane. Everybody's on the defensive. Tom is making his way up right now on those hard compound tyres. It looks like he is the most racy of them all at the moment, with both cars in front not opening their DRS. That's an interesting one. Nobody wants to be in front, and it looks like it is Alex Gillen who's going to have to sort of lead. Nobody wants to lead. They're all slowing down. This is incredible, and I think there's been contact made, actually. Hopefully no damage, but nobody wants to lead Upper Rouge and Radion, and this could be disastrous if one corner puts on the brakes.
You've got to look at the gap to the leader. Raz and Shai, 18 seconds you lose in the pits. Raz and Shai, when they pit, they will not be leading this race anymore. So Raz and Shai, the undercut is working. Can the offset work? LA Giri gets by GB68 there. But you're right, they're all backing off. And then when you back off, you're just losing time. You're losing time all the way up straight as well. It's a dangerous game to play at what is only half race distance.
Well, the front said they were playing chess. It looks like Lolanoba and Raz and Shai are playing 60 chess at the moment. They are very, it could be that actually doing the undercut and getting out of this DRS train where everybody's trying to one-up each other on strategy could be the winning one. Lolanoba actually could be in for a very good race. I think Razin, the problem is boxing onto those soft compound tires. It looks like he's going to have to make another pit stop. As the sky is looking unusually grey right now. It says no rain expected, but I'm having a bit of question marks right now on that.
Yeah, it certainly has gone through an overcast part of this session. Baraki in 5th position at the moment. 5 tenths away from this battle. He'll be thinking, right, okay, if people back off again on the next straight, then maybe I just full throttle it and take the position and go up 1, 2, 3 places. Well, GB68 says, no, I'm not going to do that. And so, sorry, Elway Giri, he has gone into the pits here. So Elway Giri, who is leading the race, he's going to fall down the order, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Maraki just having to make a correction there. Tom 97 locking the brakes. GB68 will lead this one. Yeah, 5 tenths to Alex Gillen. That is a easily passable distance. And Elway Giri still falling through the order. He's still in the pit lane. And look at that. This is the pack that he's going to be rejoining behind. Tom is in front, Yorp is in front, Lolanoba is in front, and so is Raz and Shai. But fundamentally for Elway Giri, looks like he'll be close enough to that DRS train.
22 laps on the soft tyres, however. That is the softs are going to be crying out in pain at the end of this race. That's a bold strategy move. Let's see if it pays off for him. As Alex Gillen and GB68 getting all the references in this race, don't you worry. They are still battling at the front, so it's all usual, all quiet on the western front. There's another one for you. And it looks like Lolanoba actually is making moves to try and get up the order. The danger for Elray is that he gets stuck behind the cars on hard compound tires and loses too much time, because realistically he wants clean air, or if not the DRS, just to get past and then get into clean air. And that has not paid off. I'm wondering if he could have a look at the gaps before pitting and whether he was aware of that situation before pitting, because it doesn't look like he's in an optimal strategy. Let's see if anybody else pulls into the pits right now. Has this started a domino effect? I have no idea. We've got one corner to see, and Alex Gillen goes to the inside, maybe trying to block off the pit option. Nobody else dives into the pit. Everybody's saying it's too early. So now we have a 3-strategy race, and it's all going to come down to who has the thinking mind on right now as we go too wide into turn 1 for Alex Gillen and I think Tom 97.
Yeah, that guy Vince is looking to attack Emphatic as well, up to Eau Rouge and Radion. He's got back into this fight, part of the pack, and leaving a little bit of space there for Emphatic. He's happy with that one. He'll move on to his next victim, which is Meraki, and the fight just ahead is indeed GB68 versus Alex Gillen. They're not pitting, they're looking to offset as much as possible. Alex Gillen up the inside, GB68 fighting hard. Very easy to push an opponent off the field there, but just leaving each other enough space. Tom 97 on those hards. He can run super deep into this race. He has the ability to match anyone on tyres who's in this pack. And just using a bit too much to curb on entry there, unsettling him there, but he'll run down towards Puon. And it looks like Alex Gillen is absolutely cracking on with this one. Maybe using a bit of battery, try and break a gap in the middle of this field. GB68 certainly looking to have to go defensive as they go through the Fanya chicane of turns 12 and 14 and towards the right-hander of Campus, which basically takes you to a flat-out section that goes towards the end of this lap, through the Stavlo, next to the forest of Stavlo, the curve of Pavulfra next, and Tom 97 right behind GB68 here. GB68 losing a bit of time. Tom 97 will be conscious of that. If he goes for a move, it's very well could work out that he won't be in DRS with Alex Gillen ahead. But no, using a bit of battery, a bit shaky towards there, and there we are. Bro choosing my fights, remind me where did I start? Emphatic. There, he's reminding the audience, he's reminding his competitors that he is in the top 6 and he is well and relishing this fight. Can he get his best result so far this season today? It certainly looks like he could do.
Yes, and while they are battling and swapping positions and putting themselves into their perceived good positions, El Rey is making moves up to P10, and he has just overtaken, I think, 4 drivers in the space of 1 or 2 laps right now. And this is now the problem for them, is when they box for a fresh set of tyres, even if they are soft compound tyres, they are going to have to overtake all of the cars that El Rey has already overtaken, and quite easily, I must say. And the problem with that is El Rey can just keep driving off into the distance for all he's concerned. And that is going to mean that even though you have the fresh compound tyres on there and the offset, as you previously mentioned, there's always that chance that, I don't know, Tom, Lolinoba just defend into a couple of corners, lose you a second, and all of a sudden your job of catching up to El Rey becomes twice as difficult.
Yeah, Alex Gillen actually conscious that he doesn't want to burn too much battery. They're just trying to offset El Rey Giri as much as possible. He's clearly got a run on these guys. The gap to leader between El Rey Giri and Alex Gillen is 10 seconds. So even a safety car stop here would show that El Rey Giri would get through. He'd be on slightly older tyres, but the offset isn't as screaming different. Alex Gillen there could be under pressure from Tom 97 down into the chicane. Isn't, but Tom 97 right behind him. You expect to move, but no, he peels into the pits. So he's diving out of this one. Interesting. He was on those hard tyres. It'll be fascinating to see what tyres he does jump onto, because he has the option of both the soft and the medium. He's probably in one of the best positions of any of the drivers in that leading pack. Tom 97, 24 laps he went on those tyres, and he's jumped onto the mediums. I think that is for 20 laps worth of racing he's got to go here, just under the best tyre choice he could go on to.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that is close to an optimal strategy there from Tom, starting on those hard compound tyres. He managed to remain in contact with the lead pack. Obviously, the DRS train not allowing him to go any further, really, as we've got team radio here. Yep, asking Alex to work together. Well, actually, ironically, for Aston Martin, probably they don't want Alex to work together with GB68 because Elray, is in a good position to win this race at the moment. So this is going to be interesting. It looks like Alex is burning battery as well, trying to get away, but running wide slightly there at Pouhon, losing about, I'd say 0.2 of a second looking at that visually. The gaps haven't come down yet. It's about 0.2 of a second. It certainly looks like the tyres are completely done for most of these drivers. They're just staying out, but I don't really understand why anymore. It's starting... I criticised Razin's strategy earlier on, saying I didn't understand. Now I'm starting to understand, actually. He's got himself up to in a good position, and he's just behind some of the front runners after a sort of mediocre start to the race. Whether that's his fault or not doesn't really matter. He's in the position which he's in, and it's looking like this could be an intriguing strategy game right to the end now, as they stay out for another lap. Question mark. That's all I have to say.
I think they just want to go on the softs at the end and have the charge. They want to be the people with the momentum, with the better tyres. They're in the hunting seat in that scenario. And yes, they're going to suffer a little bit of time here, but also if a safety car comes out, it's unlikely around here, but if a safety car does come out, that again plays into their favour. And GB68, he's got 56 race starts, 57 including this one. He's GB no wins. He's only won in a sprint race. That doesn't really count, does it? Let's face it. And big old zero, big old donut next to his name when it comes to wins. And yeah, okay, he's in a championship fight with his teammates for the Constructors. But he would love dearly to finally break that duct and get that win in the Creator Series.
Yeah, most drivers, whether it's real F1 or virtual F1, they look at the constructor standings and go, it's a bonus. They look at the driver standings and that's where all of their ambitions are. And certainly to have that first race win on the board is an achievement and a milestone for every driver, and it can be a lot of pressure building up to that. So most certainly he'll want that individual win. He's in a prime position to do it at the moment, but I definitely agree, needs to work with Alex Gillen if he wants to win this one. It's looking like Meraki has dropped back. He's a second behind. This could be
that's a gap to leader.
Race
but he is a second behind, you are right.
He is now a second behind.
Indeed, yeah. This could be the moment where he has to pit. Team Radio here, come on GB, we'll try and get Jake away. So that, yeah, it's a converted plan. It's a plan between both of them to try and break the resolve of that Williams. And a car peeling off into the pits there. That's that guy Vince. He's getting out of this leading fight before he maybe loses a bit of time with being passed by the likes of Lolanoba and Peya and Elway Giri coming back into this one. So Elway Giri back into fifth position as the net leader of the race starts to work its way out. Now Ben, you're hearing some chatter on the radios. What is the plan for the leading duo here of Alex Gillen and GB68?
Well, the primary plan at the moment for the top two is just breaking the toe to Meraki. They don't want to be under any rearward pressure because, to be honest, you can hear some of the chatter between the two of them. They're enjoying fighting with each other, having the back and forth. And I heard GB specifically say, "It's like, come on, Alex, let's have a brawl. I know you don't. I know you say you don't enjoy it, but come on, you do." I think these drivers know each other on a bit of a different level in a way because they have come to blows in many rounds past. So they're just trying to get the breakaway, and then I think from there we'll see whether GB can convert that into something more in Elray's favour, but that will have to wait until the next pit stop windows when these drivers inevitably go onto the soft tyre for the final sprint.
Thanks for that, Ben. Always keeping us involved, and yeah, fantastic as ever. GB68 leading. Lap 27, yeah, it's just a matter of time before they pit. And yeah, it's very interesting now. Elway Giri 3.8 seconds behind the back of this queue, if you include Meraki, who is just getting eroded, as Ben said. They're trying to gap this Williams car. Elway Giri is going to take the lead of the race here. Is there enough laps? If GB68 and Gillen and Meraki pitted next lap, because it looks like Alex Gillen and Meraki, they're all still out there, including Emphatic. Do you think there's enough laps here to close that gap back down?
I'm thinking of a different strategy here. If Elray can close up to the back of the pack and get DRS, he could potentially overtake every single one of them in one lap. He's within visual distance. He can literally see them. And I'm just thinking right now, is the strategy push as hard as possible, close up to the back of the leading pack here, potentially just overtake them or stay out a lap longer, hope that they battle once again, and then come back out on another set of soft compound tyres. That is a potential strategy, and at the moment the gap is closing literally seconds a lap. This is going to be, if not this lap, next lap maybe, he will be on the back of Infratic, and once he's got the DRS there, he can use it to slingshot from car to car and just bide his time, wait for his opportunity, and maybe even force mistakes under pressure. I'm not even sure that GB68 or Alex Gillen are aware of this at the moment. He will be on their timing screens, I think, right now, and whether they're paying attention to that or not while battling, I'm not quite sure. I would be worried.
Yeah, I think they've got to offset before Elray catches, because then Elray can just match and be part of that battle. If Elray maybe isn't confident that the gap wouldn't be closed, or would be closed. So it's all in Elray's hands here. Infratic just losing part of this battle here. GB68 looking around this rig. Is that him thinking, right, where are people? Where's Elray Giri? Is this my time to box? We go through lap 28.
They have to box now.
No, he's going for again. He's
Elray is 1.5 seconds.
I think
Elray is 1.5. He's there.
He's there.
There is Elray. That's Elray right there for context in the background.
This
is incredible.
It's going to be fascinating to see how quickly the king can carve through the likes of Infratic, who he's had so many battles with before. Meraki, Alex Gillen, his championship rival, and his teammate GB68 as they head up towards Eau Rouge and Radion. A little bit of a jitter from the game. Apologies if that's upsetting you guys at home. But there we are. Elray Giri, fast, takes it. And there we are. Blaspheming for Meraki. He's caught us that much that Meraki has not been keeping an eye on the advances of the Spaniard there at all. And looking resplendent in the green of Aston Martin. He could be coming to the fore here. Milk always finds its way to the top. And Elray Giri back to the top of the timing screens here in just a number of laps.
The other problem that they're facing now is that the drivers who have pitted onto the hard compound tires or other compounds are in a position to just hold them up if they pit now. They're going to have to catch them and overtake them, but people like Lolanoba and Tom are going to stay out until the end of the race probably, or pit at the end for soft compound tires, but they're going to be in a position to hinder them in any case. Elray has already done the work of getting past, and he's in DRS range of the leaders anyway, so he doesn't have to worry about that. And honestly, if they don't box this lap, Elray is going to just overtake them on track.
Yeah, so I think Infratic, there's no way Elray's going to make it, but he's lost the thread here that he could pit again, no problem. Maybe go on to a different pair of tyres and get the advance here. So it's interesting. How long do you go? Look at that. Infratic, he goes, right, now's my time to pit and try and offset this. The likes of Vaz and Shai has pitched as well. Molanova picking up 3 seconds worth of penalties. Those penalties could really come back to haunt your race chances in this one. We've seen it happen before, certainly. I think Vaz and Shai is one of those people who has led here over the line and then didn't get it. But there we are, GB68 right behind Alex Gillen. And these two have to work together. They have been working together. And Elray Giri, who's just behind, he's took Meraki no problem. Now it's just these leading duo for Elray Giri to go back to the top here. And I think everyone in the top 4 here will pit again. It's Tom 97 on those 5-lap-old mediums, who could be in a very interesting position strategically. He's got that 3-second penalty, but if the top 4 pit, he's got the lead of the race here, and he could build that gap to Tom. It's how quickly those other drivers would come through. That would be the race win. 14 laps left here, and it's really anyone's game here.
I'm just speechless. I'm gobsmacked at this strategy. Elray has just done everybody. He's managed to play such a high-level move with this strategy that I think it's thrown everybody else into disarray and forced them to stick with the strategy that they had in mind because they couldn't figure out what he was doing. And I think, ironically, that's forced everybody's hands to go onto a non-optimal strategy. And so there's no cards left to play on the table right now. He's got stuck behind Alex Gillen. And yeah, there you go, GB68 into the pits. And everybody's pitting now. They've realized the game is up. And unless El Rey has to pit, he's still in prime position to win this race. So again, Tom as well, in a very good position here. Only 4 seconds off of El Rey on fresher medium compound tires, as you said. However, with that 3-second time penalty that will hinder him if he does indeed also have to make another pit stop. So there's a lot of variations, quite a few penalties here. Very easy to pick up a penalty. There's a lot of big braking zones, and if you're fighting with another driver, they can force you just to leave the track a little bit and pick up a penalty. So it's all a game of strategy here, and this is going to be the most tense 13-14 laps left that I have been privy to on Formula 1 games in recent years.
Yeah, interesting. GB68 has come out 3.5 seconds behind Saf, so Saf's on 6-lap-old softs. So he's ahead of the cars that were just leading the race. You'd expect that gap to close, certainly. It's looking at the offset to those mediums of Tom 97. That's a very interesting prospect in this one. Lolanoba on those hards. It's a little bit of an offset to him, but I think that's a gap they can close. But L.A. Giri, does he have to pit again here? I have a feeling that he does. I mean, the puncture territory is about 31 laps, so he's not at risk of a puncture. But I think with the strategy that GB68, Alex Gillen, and those two and Meraki are on, he could be under pressure at the end there with how quickly, we've seen how quickly L.A. Giri has closed this one down. But it is now just a waiting game. The Aston Martin leads by himself for the first time in this race. Tom 97, 3.5 seconds back, but with that 3-second penalty to boot. So he's not going to be scared of him if he does stay out, but he might be scared of the likes of GB68, Alex Gillen, and even Meraki and Emphatic, who could be involved with this fight.
Yeah, I just gasped looking at the timing board a couple of seconds ago. In Sector 2, Alex Gillen has taken 1.2 seconds out of El Rey on this lap, and has continued to take 0.6 of a second in Sector 3. That time is going to tumble. Now, granted, they're 13 seconds behind, but if you're gaining 2 seconds a lap, the maths is looking pretty good. The only thing that I can consider is that what's going to happen potentially, although GB68 has broken DRS, which is exactly what he wanted to do to Alex Gillen, is that they get caught up with each other and start battling again. And so El Rey can pit again onto a new set of tires, get back behind them because they're too busy fighting for DRS like they did, losing multiple seconds, and then with the fresh tire advantage can overtake them again on the last couple of laps of the race. But it's going to be so interesting, and Tom is sat right there gaining time on El Rey now as well. So Tom actually might be in a good position if the soft tires go off a cliff in terms of grip. Although looking at Lolanoba and what he was able to do at the start of the race here, it looks like the softs have quite a bit of longevity in them in this race, actually, which is not something I'm used to saying about soft tires at Spa, that's for sure.
Sometimes in the F1 Creator Series, there's criticism that there's not enough safety cars, certainly in recent seasons. But when you have strategy divergence like we have on play right now, we don't want a safety car to come out. We want all of these stories to work their way to the end of lap 44 to see who's picked the right thread, because it's such strategic divergence here. El Rey Giri going aggressive on a pair of softs, but now he has to eke those out to the end. Meraki on the radio saying, what was that? I need to go faster. He needs to go faster because he waited long on a pair of mediums. He's on a pair of softs now. Can he close the gap? Or is that middle of the road strategy from Tom 97 and Tom and Lolanoba, is that going to be important to them? Tom getting passed by Lolanoba here, but you know, Lolanoba in the podium places as things stand on the road, and he's only just starting his F1 career. It's an absolutely fascinating picture that's being built up right now. And tell you what, if you are going to be here till the end, just go get yourself a drink now, because you do not want to miss this thrilling spectacle. It could end up in a grandstand finish.
With the amount of time that Lolanoba lost with all the battling, getting pushed into the gravel and all of that, he probably lost about... Oh, as Punju has retired, unfortunately, I think in the pit lane. So Punju's race not going well there. It started off in qualifying for him, a bad qualifying session, and I think a couple of incidents at the start of the race. So not the race he was wanting, and but better luck next time. It's only one race of the season. There's always opportunities to redeem yourself, that's for sure. In terms of the strategy here with Lolanoba, I was saying he's lost a lot of time, and he could have been on the back of Tom 97 right now, fighting effectively for P2 and closing it up to Elray. So an impressive debut for sure.
Yeah, track limits front. That guy Vince saying really good on track limits. He's been stellar on track limits. He is the only car out there who is yet to be warned once by the stewards that he has done a little naughty on an exit of a corner or gone a little bit too deep and clipped a little bit too much of a corner. So he's doing brilliantly. Elray Giri also in a very good position. He's only had one warning. Tom, he's had 2 warnings, so he can't push it any further. Otherwise, he'll also be at the mercy of a 3-second penalty. So it's GB68 who's coming through the field, launching one on Safso. The Season 1 champion doesn't have any defence to that. GB68 climbing through the order. He's looking for his first ever win in the Creator Series. But GB68, oh, he's also got no warning. So there are 2 cars that have no warnings, and GB68 is one of them. So GB68 in a very good position to be able to push, and punch you on the team radio saying, I'm outmatched here. It's unreal. Outmatched, outclassed, and hashtag retired for Punju.
That's one way of putting it.
Sorry,
that's
Punju.
for sure. A humorous one, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure he'd like hearing those words for sure. Punju, very ambitious driver and has the talent on his day to fight at the top. So just the car and obviously the lack of confidence in qualifying definitely hurting his race for sure. One thing about these moves, about these overtakes that you're seeing here, you might be saying, yeah, they're easy overtakes and all that. That is the point. They need to be easy overtakes. There needs to be absolutely no time losses. Is he going to go for it? He is down the inside. Oh, that was extremely risky. I would not have had the confidence to go for that one, but GB68 wants this win. He's get boxed in, but he's got the grip on the tyres going round the outside and down the inside. Easy with the DRS. Will he stick behind? I think actually he should stick behind here to get the DRS off of that guy Vince, and it looks like Tom looked to the inside there, but that would have been a very ambitious move on the old hard tyres. And yeah, for these drivers, they absolutely need to get past these cars on the fresh soft compound tyres to close back in on Tom 97 and Elray. And it looks like Elray and Tom 97 are having their own battle out in front, as it looks like Tom's got the DRS. It's going to be 3 wides. Tom actually making the most of this scenario, using the DRS to get past 2 drivers there. And Lolanoba getting past that guy Vince as well. It's all kicking off right now at the closing end of the race. Still 2 wide between Lolanoba and that guy Vince, who's going to come off better in that one. I think Lolanoba, although that guy Vince going all the way around the outside. Lolanoba mistake. Oh, just losing the traction there and losing another place to Safso there. So Lolanoba, well, not from hero to zero, but definitely not optimal at this stage of the race. He's still got time to make a comeback though, but just it can prove how easy it is to lose multiple positions just by one snap of oversteer, and you can see the car twitching still through the corners.
GB68 carving his way through the field. He's using up those softs hard at this stage. Alex Gillen, who was his running mate through the first part of this race, they were at the lead of the field for plenty of it. He's way down the order. He's really nursing these tyres into the stint. Doesn't want to use too much of their energy up. And that guy Vince battling with Tom into Blanchimont. Tom and his teammate Safso 2x2 into the chicane. Tom on the radio now saying GB is too quick for us, at least right now. So maybe he's thinking that a pit later on could happen, or those tyres could fall off dramatically at those closing laps. I think not. GB68 surely looks in the pound seat to take the lead of the race here in the next few laps. GB68, no wins to his name in the Creator Series. It's a bogey he's wanted to shrug off his back for the longest of times. And in this great year for him and his championship hopes, he certainly hopes that he could win the Constructors at least. it could be his chance to finally take that W and take to the top step. Now 5 seconds to close down on Tom97. Remember, he has those 3 seconds worth of penalties. No warnings for GB68 as things stand. But then it's Elway Giri up ahead, and there is a big offset in tyre performance. Now Alex Gillen has made his way through that pack. As you said earlier, these overtakes need to look easy, and GB68 was ambitious up the inside of Blanchimont to make those moves. And Alex Gillen will have to show equal ambition and suffocate these other drivers with his ambition to keep that momentum going for his prospects of a good point score here.
Yeah, unfortunately, as you can see, whereas GB68 caught them at the end of 3 and
no, sorry. No, sorry, I thought he pitted.
It doesn't. No, it just gets overtaken by Tom97 though. So Tom97's tyres really coming into effect here. He needs to pull a gap of 30 seconds though. So I think Elray will just try and sit in the DRS here, use it to move along. Although GB68, I must say, 2 seconds a lap faster still than the front two, and there he is within visual range. That's ominous, very ominous. I was just going to say, Alex Gillen caught the pack there at the worst possible moment, just going into sector 2, so he will have lost time, and his last lap was a 45.3, whereas GB68 was able to put a 44.6, so a huge time loss really. And yeah, too busy playing games. I think I agree, especially that slowing down and losing 2 or 3 seconds, that could come into a huge effect at the end of the race. Looking at the gaps they still have with about 7 laps to go, it's all going to come down to the last couple of laps. And as Tom goes up the inside again, he's not happy with playing second fiddle to Elray, and Elray's looking like the tyres are just not holding on at the moment. That bold strategy, that one that threw everybody for a loop there really, and had us questioning reality itself. It's really starting to make us question reality once again here. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think if he passed and pitted the likes of GB68 and Alex Gillen when they were still on their first stint, that would have been game over for them. That would have been game over. Certainly GB68, who is his teammate, he wouldn't have been able to pit. He would have had to go on longer. But now, Elway Giri, from aggressor, looks like he is on the massive back foot here. GB68 only 4 seconds behind this leading duo as things stand. Tom97 with 3 seconds worth of penalties. Now, Tom97 and Elway Giri, I thought maybe they're going to work together here. But Tom97, as you said, not waiting around and absolutely slung one at the inside of Bruxelles when Elway Giri had a little bit of a moment out of Malmedy and that top section of the track. As Lonanoba loses a couple of positions to boot in the backfield. GB68 in a very, very strong position because those people he was running with are way down the order. That guy Vince in 4th position, he's not been able to keep up with GB68 as well. 3.5 seconds is in that gap. Now, it will go up as we go up the Kemmel Straight because Elway Giri has that DRS, and if he can make that overtake, he can use it to his full advantage to do so here. But no, he's just going to sit behind, and that means it will maintain about 3.5 seconds. 2 wins lost for track limits. Are you taking the asterisks there for Markey? He's he feels like he's lost it for track limits here, but there's a good chance that he's not going to be as fast as GB68 and Alex Gillen anyway. Emphatic, who was doing so well on those medium tyres, nowhere on these softs, just cannot unlock that pace on that softer tyres. Quite fascinating to see that.
It's the same situation for Lonanoba as well. So impressive on that soft compound tyre at the start, and yet on the hard compound, he's lost time to Tom, who's on 2-lap older compound tyre. Oh, actually, I think Tom's made a mistake in this one, and he's lost 2 places. So disregard that. I know nothing. But I was saying he's not shown the pace to move up the order and sort of use those tyres effectively. And yeah, for Emphatic, it's a bit bizarre, really. Maybe the balance of the car, the tyres can change fundamentally if you've got a setup that's optimized for maybe qualifying. As we see again, Alex Gillen trying to get those overtakes done to catch up to GB68, who's not even within visual range anymore. That just shows how much time he's lost. He goes all the way around the outside, and he got the move done before the turn. And here we go. He's just within visual range, as you can see GB68 going into turn 1 there, La Source. And he might actually get re-overtaken if he's not careful. Gets a good exit out of La Source, but not a brilliant one. He could be vulnerable here to getting repassed, and I'm sure that will make him very frustrated, seeing as that guy Vince is only on 4-lap older tyres. And yeah, I think that guy Vince definitely the right strategy, and straight away on the DRS, maybe even before the DRS zone. I think Alex's strategy there was actually to lift off and try and get the slipstream and use the battery, but it has not worked. And there is Meraki right behind him. So Meraki does, in a sense, have some validation in thinking that he lost the race win potentially 2 penalties. I'd potentially say it's that, and indeed that race start where he got bumped down a couple of positions, lost touch briefly with the main pack there. Sadly, it's all about being part of that top 3 really in the DRS train, and that's made it much more difficult, as we can see GP68. Wow, 1.4 seconds. Oh, it's about to get spicy.
I'm very interested in this battle here. GP68, I imagine the pass on the teammate is not going to be too hard. It's often hard to read Elway Giri's mind on these things. He likes to put on a show in the Creator Series, and what a show we have had today so far. But Tom97, I don't think he's out of this one. He's on 14-lap-old mediums compared to 8-lap-old softs. When will that crossover come between those tyres with those offsets in play? Okay, Tom97 has that 3-second penalty, but look at that, he has a 2.5-second gap to Elway Giri as things stand. I think it's going to be very unlikely here that GB68 doesn't make the pass down the Kemmel Straight. There is a flag through the final sector. I think that may be emphatic, having a little bit of a moment there to capitulate what was looking to be a very strong day at one point, but GB68 having one of his strongest days in the Creator Series, as he'll look to pass his teammate up the Kemmel Straight, use the OS to fly by him, and there will be no defence for that one. And now within 3 seconds of the car ahead, with no warnings to his name, after 57 race starts, could it finally be GB68's chance to win in the Creator Series? He's begging his teammate, pleading with his teammate to not hinder him in his advances, because he knows those soft tyres will start to give up the ghost in a few laps' time, and once they do, Tom97 may just have an edge on his fellow Brit, and this is going to be a fascinating duel to the end here. Tom97 wants the points to rekindle his championship chances, but GB68 just wants that race win.
Yeah, I think that pass happened at the exact... the stars are aligning, essentially, for GB68 because of being able to overtake those cars in Sector 1. And once again, he's caught his teammate in Sector 1 and been able to pass him, so gaining another 5/10 with the DRS. And Alex Gillen has had the exact opposite, just caught behind cars, not being able to get the DRS from GB68, and the gap of, 5.4 seconds just to Elray just demonstrates that. And I do agree with Alex, he has not had the best of luck there, or not being able to get those tyres switched on effectively. I think for Elray, actually, thinking back to it right now, the defining moment of this race was Elray coming out behind Lolinoba and Tom and some other drivers, and that hampered him for 2 or 3 seconds. This race could have a completely different aspect to it if Elray had been able to have that extra lap to catch and overtake the front pack, as you said. So all ifs and buts, but the intrigue to this race has been second to none. Incredible stuff. We've had some overtakes on track. However, the strategy has been on point, with people thinking, outthinking, and getting outplayed by other drivers left, right, and centre. And for Tom, it's not over yet. He still has a gap of 3 seconds, and it doesn't look like the gap is coming down. Only 1/10 of a second in Sector 1.
Yeah, Tom97 is sweating so hard on this one that his driver feed has gone down, but GB68 just lost out over that lap, and he just fell outside that 3-second barrier. This is going to be a very tense 3 laps. Look at the concentration and the desire in his IT. He knows how critical these laps are, how close this win is in reach to him, and the sweat on his brow, having to wipe it off as well. And now that is just... this is it. This is the race here. 3 seconds. It's just teetering on the edge of that. Now going down the straights, I think GB68 has a bit more straight line speed, But if he could have just caught Tom 97 a little bit quicker when he was just caught Elway Giri, he could have been in a DRS slipstream easy zone for the rest of this race, but he didn't. And now he's got to concentrate and make sure that gap goes down and creeps under 3 seconds each lap. Meraki saying we're so much confident than him, it's insane. He's talking about Alex Gillen there, and Meraki is looking to get in front of Alex Gillen in this race. I think he'll have a crack at it down the Kemmel straight here. GB68 closing down in the straight. His straight line speed is better, much better towards the end of the straight. But is it enough lap by lap to do it? Importantly, he struggles in those final 2 sectors, and that's where Tom 97 will cross the finish line in 3 seconds ahead, crucially 3 seconds ahead as things stand. It could go either way as things stand.
It could. It's, yeah, Alex complaining. Well, he wasn't complaining about the DRS when he was using it to his advantage at the head of this race. But it's very frustrating for a driver when you're just stuck behind someone else or someone passes you with DRS. However, it does mean that you can't just sit there and defend all day. Although, to be fair, it doesn't look like DRS is the problem. He is losing handfuls of time in the corners. It looks like either the tires are overheating or he's just dropped out of the operating window for whatever reason of his setup. And it's going from bad to worse, to be honest. It looks like he could be overtaken not only by that guy Vince, but by Lolanoba and the guys behind him as well if the pace drops off even more. He lost about, another 0.5 of a second there in the second sector, which is just bizarre for me. And as the gap still remains at 3 seconds between Tom and GB68. This is going to be so tense. With 2 laps remaining, incredible stuff. It's timetrial.com. Just put your seats back and enjoy the show.
I wonder, and I hope not for GB68's case, I wonder if Tom 97 has just been holding back a little bit of battery on these final few laps, and that will just give him the edge. GB68 has only just crept under 3 seconds there, and these could be the moments where Tom 97's tyre advantage finally comes in. Tom 97, 2 big mistakes last time out at Hungary cost him what could have been an easy race win. He would have had a canter if it wasn't for those mistakes. But GB68 is dying and struggling and doing everything to stay within that 3 second gap. It is teetering on the edge. But on the final lap, if GB68 has any battery to use, he must use it. But Tom 97 may have an absolute full whack of battery and just crush Aston Martin hearts in this one. We have just over a lap to go of the longest circuit on the calendar. And it is going to be the longest time. It will feel like forever for GB68 to maintain that gap and get it back under. But crucially, it's still teetering around the 3 second mark. A 10th here, a 10th there. That's all it's going to be in this one.
Indeed, as they go on to the final lap then officially, and it's worth noting that Tom has 4 warnings as well, so could get a penalty if he does drift off track. So precision in this last lap is going to be oh so crucial. Getting the traction zones right, it looks like he's gained another 1/10 of a second there. That could prove just that last little step too far for GB68. Both drivers wanting to have that glorifying moment, the redeeming moment for them. I think they both deserve it, which is the ironic thing about this race. There can only be one, and we have only a few corners left. He's pulling away, says GB68. Not the kind of thing you want to be thinking, but it is true. He's pulled another 0.2 of a second in the first sector, and it looks like, unfortunately, those soft compound tires are just 1 lap too long. He had it in the bag a couple of laps ago, but Tom has really cemented his position at the front, maybe using the battery. Maybe he did have some battery left. The light not flashing, it seems, so draining all of the battery, 0.5 of a second. It's going to have to be a mistake from Tom at this point, but there's only 1 real corner left to go, and it looks like, barring any mistakes, it might be his.
Yep, Tom97, he's pulled 6 attempts on GB68 for so long in this race. Tom97 wasn't anywhere, and you've got to remember Tom97 started way down the order in 16th position, and now he is going to come around the final corner calm and collected. GB68 isn't going to win his first race, but Tom97 is going to win here in Belgium. A superb race. Great challenge from GB68. The strategy not just working out there. And Elray Giri, a strong day from him. He extends his gap in the championship to Tia McMurdoch and Alex Gillen there. A big give. And GB68 saying he gave it everything. We believe you, GB. And Alex Gillen ending up in 6th place there. Not perfect for him. He would have hoped to capitalise more than that on a day where his championship rivals weren't racing. But there we are. And what a thrilling, interesting, intriguing battle of wits there. 3 tenths of a second was all it was in the end for GB68 to pick up that first win. And he just did not have it. 1 lap early on those softs, 1 lap later I should say, may have just been the thing that would have given him the win.
I think Infratic has maybe crashed across the finish line, perhaps? Or no, that must be after the race anyway. Something's happened.
Yeah.
But it's maybe retiring after just before the line or something. But I must say, I echo that just incredible just intrigue for the entire race. It had it all. It had the on-track overtakes. It had the strategic moments. It had the moments of questioning what was going on, and drivers outthinking even us commentators who have all of the information at hand here. I must say, impressive drives, not only from debutants of the series, but also from veteran drivers of these events. I think every driver has done themselves proud today, regardless of the result. What an amazing, amazing race.
In all of that, I completely forgot to run through the Driver of the Day vote. So we will have a Driver of the Day call later on. Maybe we will squeeze that in before the interviews or after the interviews. But there we are, the podium celebrations for Tom97. He picks up yet another win in the series, and he's just superb this season. But it's just inconsistency for him that means that he isn't hitting those highs in the championship. But there we are. First confirmation for him and that RB team. GB68 in second. Heartbreaking for him to come so close to his first win. Surely it's coming. Elray Giri is in third. 4th is that guy Vince. Meraki in 5th position. Alex Gillen only good enough for 6th today, despite starting on pole. Prayer in 7th. 8th is Tom. 9th is Razanshai. 10th is Safso. Lola Noba on debut only ends up in 11th position. Just couldn't make those hard tyres work. Nagiri a bit absent, I must say, today. Didn't really make an impact on the race. 12th for him. 13th for Adam Sanderson. Arsenault on F1 debut as a reserve. He's in 14th. Good work from him. Curbs in 15th, picking up that final point. Matty D13, no points yet again for the Haas driver. Infratic, we don't quite know where he is. He may have fallen down the order. And it was Yorpa who rounded out the finishers. Punju and EME all retiring from that race. And absolutely fascinating. I tell you what, we're going to jump over to the clip book. We had us briefly, but we're going to go over to clip book. Ben, have you got anything for us from that one?
I mean, you could see the stream I was last watching. It was GB's. Just because I was absolutely entranced for those last couple of laps. The way that he was pushing and giving it absolutely everything, leaving nothing to chance. It was quite a spectacle seeing him try and get within that 3 seconds. So while he didn't get it in the end, it was amazing to watch. And just overall, some really great efforts from the Aston Martin team as a whole. They were strategizing, they were looking ahead, not just in the next couple of laps, but looking towards, even from the first few laps of the race, when they were fairly close to one another. They worked on that strategy. They came up with that plan. They worked together. They coordinated around the track as it was moving. So those two in particular was great to watch. And some other big winners as well. Infratic, really great progress, down from P20 till at one point P5. Unfortunately, he had a couple of mistakes, as I'm about to show you. He had a bit of a moment. Now, this was clipped by Awesemo93 from the Discord, so thank you for sending that in. And we can just see here, coming up to the bus stop chicane, goes for a move on lap 39, goes way too deep, and just taps the back of Peya. Ended up rejoining in P12, which he was at that point staying until the end. So Some great moves from some, a little bit of a mistake there from Infratic, ruining what otherwise was really good momentum. But saw some big surprises today. Tom 97, amazing stuff from him too. So awesome stuff all around.
Absolutely. We will come back over. I've just... Well, someone actually has put the Driver of the Day link into the Twitch chat. If you're over on YouTube, sucks to suck. It's in the Twitch chat. Go in there, go and vote. We'll catch up with who gets Driver of the Day a little later on. But, little tip from me, vote for GB. That's who I think Driver of the Day should be with his excellent strategy. But I tell you what, we're going to jump over to the race winner and get Tom97 into the booth for an interview. Tom97, another win in the Creator Series today, and a very interesting strategy out on your own on that hard to medium strategy, but it paid dividends going that long on the initial stint, didn't it?
Yep. New approach this race. I said to my chat, we're going to take a different direction. Treat it like a cycling race. If you watch cycling, you know about cycling, then you'll know. But we just gradually worked our way to the front, took it nice and easy, tried to save tyres, and when the time was right, pulled the pin. I had a strategy ace up my sleeve. Making the hard tyre work on the first stint gave me basically the option of, I can undercut you for mediums, and basically get out in front, or if they will box for hards, then I could have just gone really long and deep into the race and then put mediums at the end and be really quick and basically come back through. So whichever way it would have gone, I was prepared for either scenario.
There was that moment where you caught up with Giri, and at the time it looked like GB68 had all the momentum in the world to catch you up. But then you just had the DRS from Giri for a couple of laps. Do you think that was a big boost to your race-winning hopes there?
I lost a bit more time than we were like behind El Rey. Part reason, my stream crashed, so I lost a lap driving as AI.
That's why your camera's not showing on our stream. That makes sense. Your virtual camera's down. There we are. That makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, so I had a stream crash. I basically rushed to get that back up. So I lost a lap behind El Rey, and at the same time I was basically just trying to study him and see how he was approaching it, trying to see if he was struggling on tyres a lot. Eventually I figured he's done pretty old softs, so I'd have the advantage. But GB really surprised me. He just came out of nowhere, and I had to really manage it at the end. He had me really on the ropes.
Yeah, well, Tom97, race driver and indeed race engineer then during that race. At what point did you realize perhaps that your strategy was paying out? Was it when you were stuck in behind all of the other cars at the initial point of the race, or was it really towards the end of the race? Did you figure out your strategy, or was there still question marks?
Around lap 20, I knew I was going to win the race because I think I got to like P7, and at that point I was behind El Rey, Alex, GB, Jake, Fabio, who was really quick today, and I think Vince. But yeah, when I got to like P7, I was in that leading group on the hard tyre. I knew I could win for the reasons I said before. I knew I had a strategy checkmate. But, the only way that race would have got ruined is if a safety car to come out because of my penalty. But me knowing that, they're either going to have to go softs or hards and take some pain, whereas I can go mediums whenever I want to, whether it's early or late. I just knew I had the right play up my sleeve. So I was basically waiting to see how everyone would behave, and I realised when I got to the train within 3 or 4 laps, they were driving quite strange. There was a lot of DRS chicken going on, and just a lot of non-ERS people trying, letting people go, and weird things happening. So I was leaning towards pitting early for the undercut mediums and basically get out of that train because the pace was really slow. And at one point, El Rey on that aggressive 2-stop on the double soft would have become a threat if we'd kept on driving at that pace. So I just had to basically get out of it. So I thought it was just a really well managed, well read race on my end, really.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I mean, Hungary last week, you probably had the pace to win there, but 2 big mistakes on curbs really cost you that one. You're a bit further down the championship order, but of course people like Ben haven't raced today. You gained on Giri and then Alex Gillen. Do you feel that you are still in this championship fight for Season 7?
I don't know what the gap is exactly, to be fair. I want to say it's around 45 points, just like a rough guess. So 5 races to go. Probably not, because my attendance record's wishy-washy, but we'll take it one race at a time. I think if I can turn up next race, that's a start, and we'll hopefully try and have no dramas.
Well, fantastic to hear from you. Fantastic on your race win. Congratulations once again. And very much thank you for joining the interview booth. That was Tom97 there, who, of course, won the race with that very, very interesting strategy. And it's interesting because he just never seemed for the longest time like he was part of that race win there. It was El Rey Geary, it was Alex Gillen, it was GB68 Meraki, even Emphatic and that guy Vince. You had a feeling they would do it, but just never quite seemed like he was going to be part of it until he very much was. He was on that medium tyre. It was just the right strategy.
Yeah, sometimes the best strategy is being under the radar. Being the driver that nobody reacts to. And I think that's exactly what he described. That's what happened. He realized he'd won the race when he pitted for the mediums and nobody reacted. They were all playing to El Rey's game, and he was just playing a different game altogether, and nobody was really thinking about him. And I think even when they boxed for the softs at the end, they expected to just catch and overtake Tom, and it just didn't happen. All of that, as he said, all of that bickering, all of that fighting at the front really cost them in the end. Those were the 3 seconds that GB68 needed at the end of the race, ironically.
Yeah, GB has just deafened, but I'm going to drag him in for an interview and see if he undeafens. Maybe it's just a stream thing. But we are waiting for GB68 to come back. There he is, GB68.
Undeafened.
Undeafened, beautiful. But unfortunately, it can't give you an extra 3 tenths in the race. That is brutal to lose out in that style. You must be feeling pretty frustrated today. GB no wins.
Yeah, look,
Big 0.
I mean, the first thing I said to my chat across the line was that you can't call that a bottle. I gave it everything. I made no mistakes, no complaints. GG to Tom. I think, interested in listening to his comments then, I agree that kind of that first stint won him the race. There was so much like games and fighting at the front that you had to get involved in. It was impossible to not be a part of it because, of course, then if you go P1, then it's slipstream DRS, you get overtaken by 2-3 cars. So, yeah, ultimately that allowed Tom to run long and then go onto the mediums where, as you saw, my softs were flying at the start. It felt great on them. Pace felt great. But then at the end of the race, just could not quite do it against those mediums. It was so close. I gave it everything. I don't think I made a mistake in the last, 5 laps. It was pretty hooked up, but...
You were full concentration, wiping sweat off your brow. We had, of course, your picture-in-picture, which was great to see. But there were a few moments in that first stint, as you said, a few games, a few DRS chicken moments where you did lift from it. Do you think that obviously allowed Tom97 to get back into it in a bigger way than maybe he wouldn't have done? Do you think you would go back and maybe change that and not do those lifts if possible, or do you think as soon as other people started playing those games, that ship had sailed?
Yeah, it's like I said, it was impossible not to do that because everyone had good battery, and one person not doing it wouldn't have changed that. It just wouldn't have changed it. And of course, Tom was a part of it quite early as well. He's not like he caught us towards the end of his stint. He did get latch onto the back of that pretty quickly because we were going that slow. I mean, we were nearly breaking front wings into the final chicane because we were just braking and going so early in general. So. Yeah, it was a really weird race, but I hope it was good to watch. It was a sweaty one to drive with no safety cars, but yeah, as you can see,
it was thrilling, wasn't it, John?
The one defining moment, I'd say, was not the first stint or even the end of the race. I think the overtaking that you demonstrated of the cars after you'd boxed for the soft tyres was just amazing to watch. You caught them at the exact right moment with the DRS through the Kemmel Straight, and you were just able to carve through the cars as if they weren't there, and Alex Gillen just got stuck behind them for a couple of laps. And I think that's where you gave yourself the opportunity after losing the opportunity to win on the first stint. You gained it back, and unfortunately 5 tenths is a long time in Formula 1. But I think, honestly, can you feel proud about those the attempts to recover the race?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely don't. It's not like previous P2s that should have been P1s and won. I gave it everything. So I mean, it's more credit to Tom for the win rather than I don't believe I could have done much more. But you're right. I mean, I knew as soon as I boxed, I had to cut through that pack. I think it was Safso was the first one, and fortunately, kind of met them at the right time. I think Tom got quite elbows out at one point on the hard tires, which was a bit scary. But luckily managed to hold those off. And yeah, I was surprised actually. I thought I'd be in a fight with Alex, Elray, and Tom at the end. That's what I was thinking. I was surprised to see Alex and Meraki kind of caught up with the pack behind. But yeah, no complaints. On to the next one. Hopefully that wins coming soon.
I think it's Australia next week, is it? How do you feel about Down Under? Big fan of it, except from Tim at Marduk, of course, who no one's a big fan of him. Let's face it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I don't mind Australia, but I think Ben Daly kind of taints it. So yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Well, fantastic, and yeah, that race win, agonisingly close. And until you do get the race win, the 0 is going to stay very big in your driver stats, just so you know. So
thank you, mate.
Absolutely no problem.
Appreciate
Thank you for joining the booth, and
cheers,
we will
guys.
again see you soon. But yeah, fantastic. GB is always a good sport. I do love a bit of GB. Bit of GB 86, 69, 68, whatever way you want to bake it. We all love a bit of GB. But yeah, I mean, just mature, you know, he understands that, you know, it just wasn't his day today, right?
He drove a faultless race, and I honestly think that the loss of the race wasn't even his fault. The fighting, as he described as just mandatory, as soon as one person starts doing it, everybody has to do it. That 3 seconds lost, I honestly think, was the defining moment of the race. Not only it forced them to compromise their strategy because Elray caught them so fast, and Elray would have won that race if there was another lap or he caught them a lap earlier through more infighting, but it also allowed Tom just to carry out his strategy and not be compromised whatsoever and do his own race. And yeah, unfortunately for GB68, did nothing wrong and still was given the short end of the stick.
Yeah, well, that is this is how the race has been affected standings-wise. If my standings buttons works on my stream deck, it hasn't. These things don't always work like that. There we are. I will go on click it as a physical button instead. There we are. 163 points. Elray Giri has 128 for Alex Gillen. He goes in front of Tiamat Marduk. Tiamat Marduk, of course, not here today. He was, I don't know, shaving his hair or something, according to someone in the chat. I don't think he was actually doing that, but I think he was at some Forza event. But Tom 97, 113 points with that race win. That's exactly 50 points away from Elray Giri. That's 2 race wins. It's a big chunk there to close down. But we still have a number of rounds, a DNF here, a few bad results here. These championships can change over so quickly, and remember, every Creator Series championship has gone down to that final race. There hasn't been a single one which was decided beforehand, so it quite often goes up to that. GB68's in 5th position thanks to his second place. He has 100 points, and yeah, big 100 on that one. And Nagira, just not a fantastic day for him. Losing out, he's on 87 points, and Tom on 72, Meraki on 65. So interesting how that shapes up the complexion. We expected Elray Giri's gap to maybe grow a little bit, but actually, you know, Alex Gillen getting into 2nd position there. The fight is still on, certainly here, isn't it?
Yeah, one thing to say, once again, we started by talking about this, and toward the end of the broadcast now, I'm going to re-mention it. Consistency, once again, is key. Elray increasing his championship lead despite all of the shenanigans that went on during the race, and you've got to give him credit. He knows how to keep his points alive, put it that way. And for all of the other drivers, they're going to have to find a way to not only outpace Elray all the time, but also do it consistently.
God, these broadcasts go through so quickly when you don't have any safety cars, right? It feels like a completely different show. Ben, do you have any final thoughts, final closing thoughts on what you've seen today from your view as the clip book across all the team radios on all that?
Well, fiery passion, personalities coming out in force for many, because we are coming to that second half of the championship, and this is where the walls start to close in on championship efforts. I want to give a special tip to Elray Giri for being, I think, one of the only successful drivers to get a double overtake heading into Eau Rouge, because I just got sent a clip of that courtesy of our Stream Clips channel, and wow, It goes to show.
Shall I show you it?
He's
Should we go to
just
you?
elite composure. Yeah, let's show it. Let's show it right here. So coming up on 97, Gillen and GB, lap 21. This is when they were playing a bit of the DRS chicken. So gets Tom 97, keeps committed all the way through Eau Rouge, and gets it done heading into the Camel Straight. Like, well, the composure on his face the entire time. He just does not seem to fret, even when he has a little bit of a wiggle coming out of La Source. There's a reason why he's at the top of the championship right now. This is the guy to beat. Stoic, stone-faced, consistent racing, and a championship in the making for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very brave from him. A quick recap on Driver of the Day before we go over to our own socials. GB68 won Driver of the Day. 24% he got of the vote. That guy Vince in second with 20% and 16% for Emphatic. Who's voting for Emphatic Driver of the Day here, man? Yeah, Ben, quickly, where can we find you on your socials when you're not here at the Creator Series?
When I'm not here, you can find me around, say, various other leagues, but my main places to be are my Twitter, or X, if you like to call it incorrectly, or my Twitch, alternatively, both at Sappytron.
Fantastic. John, what about you? Where can we find you when you're not here at the Creator Series?
Everything is amusing, normally on Twitch or YouTube. And yeah, always crashing into various stuff. Not so much barriers, but definitely trees and other stuff.
Yep, I've been Gareth Allen TV. You can find me at that handle on all the social media gubbins. Go and follow me to your heart content on whatever various platform you can find. We've also been the F1 Creator Series. You can follow us on YouTube for highlights of the race on Monday, reactions on Friday, and also our WRC content, which is returning not this week, but the next week after. Very excited for that. Of course, F2 on the Fridays too. We are over on Instagram and the website formerly known as Twitter as well, and TikTok, so do go and follow us on there. We have some great content going out through there through the week, and you can stay abreast of any changes to calendar and also any standings graphics that do come out. But what a thrilling race it has been, and thank you everyone who has tuned into this race. We will be back, of course, for the F2 Creator Series next Friday, where we are down under for the first time in a few seasons, so that will be a thrilling battle to ensue there. El Rey Giri still leading this one, but Tom 97 could pick up a charge here. Thank you very much.